Alrighty, we're live. This is Logan back here with Austin on the Finding Truth podcast on the Unscripted Truth TV channel on YouTube. Uh, Tonight we're going to be talking, we're going to be kind of sewing up some loose ends from episode 1. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's the only video on our channel so far. Talked a lot about Kurt Cobain, and it branched off into several different topics, but we're going to be kind of tying up some loose ends from that we feel like we didn't necessarily cover everything we wanted to cover. And that should bleed into a pretty robust 9/11 talk or presentation, if you will. And without further ado, I think I'm going to let my co-host kick it off here, and I will be popping in every now and then. So take it away.
For sure, yeah, we'll get into Kurt Cobain. It's a lot of really good points. A current event this year we had, of course, was April 8th, the eclipse. Remember, it was 30 years to the death of Kurt Cobain this year, so it's a pretty big year. Of course, like we're talking, how synced up they have everything with the dates and the calendar system, everything with the Jesuits, how they had that set to go this year. And that was, of course, the day his body was found, 30 years to the day, and the news broke April 8th. And of course, his, supposed death on the 4/5/54. We'll get to that in a minute. But this is such a big thing they had this year with that, because a lot of people, I think, kind of looked over it. It's been a while. It's been 30 years. And then how they had that set to go this year, kind of like in 2017, there was the great American solar eclipse as well. And getting into the Jesuits and the 5/4 and the 4/5, a lot of things I wanted to tie in with Kurt Cobain in that. Of course, he's from Aberdeen, Washington. Aberdeen is 4/5/54. Aberdeen, Washington's 95. Like the Jesuits' birthday, September 27th. Leaves 95 days left to go in the year. And of course, greenhouse. He was found in the greenhouse. Greenhouse is 4/5/54. Of course, dies on 4/5/54. So you just see how from where he's born to where he dies to the day he dies, how the Jesuits have it squared up to a T. And it's just, like I said, it's just phenomenal when you understand this. Tom Grant, I brought him up as well. He as well equals 45. Like we said, love 45/54. So you have all of these connections with this number. In the 4/5/54 is just everywhere with this. And another piece I brought up too was the Eldon Hoke. I brought him up, El Deuce, that was murdered on the train tracks April 19th. You write out Eldon Hoke, it equals 44. He's from Seattle, 44, kill 44. So it's interesting there how even him is, how they have a ritual for him as well.
Do you remember how his name was spelled off the top?
Eldon, Eldon, and then Hoke, Hoke.
And I'll look it up.
Yeah, he goes by so many names: El Deuce, Eldon Hoke.
Died on April 19th. Wow, what a day.
Yeah. Yep, April 19th. I mean, and just like I was saying too, there's just so much to all of this. Courtney Love, of course, Francis Bean, Francis 47, Francis Bean 47, Dave Grohl 47, Chris Novoselic 65, The Reflection of 56. So all these, key people involved in this, of course. Courtney Love, if you write out her full name sums to 98. Just like the day, there was a 98th day in 1994, Kurt Cobain's body was found. Of course, this year, April 8th, was the 99th day of the year because it was a leap year. But, even just the way her album, Live Through This comes out just a week after Kurt Cobain is dead here on April 5th. And of course, it equals 201 and 84. Yeah, Live Through This. That came out literally a week after Kurt Cobain's death. I mean, just how they have that set to go. I mean, it's just, I mean, this is what I mean. I mean, I could go, I could give a year-long presentation on Kurt Cobain and still not even get all, because this is literally, to me, it's like the biggest ritual of them all, and where all this really stems from, because just how deep all of this goes. Frances Bean was 19 months old when Kurt Cobain died. Seattle equals
Seattle
19.
19.
So even how they had that squared up to a T, ready to go. Um, there's so much more to this, that the like I was talking about, all these connections. Kurt Cobain, April 5th, Lane Staley, April 5th, just how they overuse, the 54, Jesuit Order 54, Cabal 54. There's so many people, Kirsten Path, Courtney Love's bass player. She was found dead not long after Kurt Cobain there in June as well. Just another one of these people just taken out in this ritual. Just absolutely amazing when you look into it. And even, you look at people, like I was saying, like Alan Wrench. Forget what I was looking at. Alan Wrench, forgot what he equals to in this, but like I said, how April 19th they had Eldon Hoke murdered on the train tracks exactly 2 years
What do you
after
know?
Oklahoma City. I mean, how do they? I mean, just, and you look at all this, and it's like I said, dead on, born on 220, shot with a 20 gauge. Um, just how significant all the things in his death are. Of course, the 27 Club, Jimi Hendrix as well from Seattle in the 27 Club as well. And you have these key people involved. Dave Grohl, just more mockery, the picture with the gun on it for the album that comes out, in 95 after Kurt Cobain kills himself. Just like I said, Courtney Love's album lived through this. I mean, just the mockery, and just,
Just the
Francis.
name itself is just a mockery, and then just the numbers just double down. It's just incredible, really. Like I mean, key numbers. Basically dog whistling who the string pullers are in her life. And when you get figures like Courtney Love, you kind of take a step back, and it's just like, I'm a little bit older than you, so I remember a lot of her being in the tabloids. I mean, I remember, for me when I was a kid, it was a lot of Michael Jackson, a lot of Courtney Love, um, even those like super heavy plastic surgery mother daughter combo ladies. Those people were all over the news, or at least the tabloid news. And Courtney Love was always shown to be like basically uncontrollable type of. It's definitely not a strong female, but like maybe kind of like acting like she's a strong female, but really just out of control. Whether or not it was about drugs, or mainly, she seemed drunk every time she was anywhere on a screen. Um, but you just pair that with Kurt Cobain, you have this volatile relationship that like the public will believe, oh yeah, this craziness would happen. And it's just interesting how they do it. But when I think about like the survived females, a lot of the times, it, in my opinion, I think it comes down to, I think they're just kind of like easier to get to, easier to manipulate. And it's like, have you ever seen like Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie? I think it was an older movie too. But basically, they're two spies, but they're working for different opposite organizations or whatever. That's the kind of the way I take it. It's like they're both, Kurt Cobain's in the game as well. But when he, I feel like he was more prone to be like, I have a kid. I want to get out of this like one way or another, or at least make it, my lights flickering. It's crazy. Or at least, and maybe that's just me being a paternal person because I have two kids and I'm a guy, but I just see it in Hollywood. I don't mean like people. I mean like in Hollywood. I noticed that. Like, look at what they're doing with Brad Pitt, and look what well that and since I just mentioned them, Angelina Jolie. She, every time you see her, she's doing something else crazy, and it just seems like Brad Pitt's trying to like hold it afloat. Not saying they are really, but then there's like, it's just that I just noticed that trending type of thing. And this goes back a long time. And like Courtney Love, was kind of the epitome of it. She was just insane, basically, and you could always feel for Kurt Cobain without even liking his music or not anything like that. Just be like, damn, this guy's life must suck with her around. Holy crap.
Yeah, and this, they got so much out of this. 94, 4 months later, we had the assault weapons ban. And then in '93, we had the '93 World Trade Center bombing. And then it's like, in '93, he does MTV Unplugged. Of course, they're in New York, and that's what they would play when he died. They'd have that going in his like memory for April. When the news broke on April 8th, and it's just like just all these connections to all of this. I know, like even like Dave Grohl's album cover, I think Sonic Highways, that came out in like 2014. Like it even shows like symbolism like this, the Space Needle and stuff, and it looks like the World Trade Center, the One World Trade Center looks like it's on there too. It's just the way they make all these connections, and with somebody like I said, you still have these people around. Dave Grohl, Courtney Love, these people just around, just continuously mocking you. It's just it just shows you what kind of people these are. But it's no different than anybody, like you see Dr. Oz, this just clown of a guy, this complete loser, and it's like here he's a doctor, and here he is here he is, pushing COVID, going on TV and talking about it like it's real, and he says he's going to run for president and stuff. But you look at his gematria, you look at just a clown of a guy, it's a complete loser of a guy. You look at his name, it's well, there it is, 45, and you even see like 27. It's like it's just these people, these key people, and like I said, Courtney Love, just like you said, just this garbage of a person, Dave Grohl, and just all these people that are just trashed. Even like I said, his best friend Dylan Carlson, just how just shitty these people are, how just none of them, give a fuck about Kurt, and it's just like, and you just see how it just, this sadness that this reeks from his death, because it's like I said, you have, all this time that has passed, all this information that's been out, and these people that have just kind of come and gone, and there's so many bodies to all of this. There's so many people that have, died from all of this, and and then you look at, somebody like Kurt Cobain, someone that was, more legit of a person, really someone that didn't care about wealth, materialism, didn't care about, the money and the fame, and just wanted to play music, just wanted to, and that's what you saw, when he goes on stage, what do you see? He's jumping around, he's jumping in the audience, he's going hard, like he's working for it, like you can tell this guy. And then you just see like people like Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic. Well, what are they doing? They don't really matter, right? Like Kurt Cobain can play the drums. That was the first instrument he learned to play. He can play guitar. He can sing. He writes all the lyrics. So he just does all the work. He's the whole show, and you just have these, these two goofs with them that, and you just see how it sets up for his death, and everything that's come from it. Like I said, people like Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl equals 47. Chris Novoselic 65. The Reflection of 56. And then, Francis 47, Francis Bean 47, Trump 47. Just these people that are just born for the role, born for the right spot. Like I said, look at the album cover, for Nevermind, and just look at the babies chasing the dollar bill, going after the dollar bill, all the symbolism, everything that's on the dollar bill, and Kurt, came up with that. That was actually Spencer Eldon. Spencer Eldon, that's on the cover. That's who that is. The baby that was used. It's kind of funny. You have Eldon
Well,
Hope, and
I
then
was going to
Spencer
say there's
Eldon.
two
So,
Eldons
Eldon,
involved in
yeah,
this.
it's just even that's just like it's
I'd
just
never known an Eldon in my life. It's like,
right. Yeah, it's just so amazing, and like I said, Kurt Cobain dies on the 95th day. Courtney Love's birthday is 95 days later. Just the same numbers. 95 and the 4-5 and the 54, and you just see how why these key people. It's like why would Courtney Love album be coming out a week later already called Live Through This if this wasn't all. And you see when it was recorded 93, and then Kurt Cobain puts out In Utero, in 93, in the womb, birth and coming into the world, all this, and the baby chasing the dollar bill. There's all this baby symbolism, birth and
birthing, water, the uh kind of on that, what I was kind of leading into. I get a little bit sidetracked, but actual witchcraft, things like sex magic, black magic, people will call it red magic, blood magic. Uh, it's like a taboo topic that's been in the industry for as long as I've been, it's not even for kids' ears yet. With being a kid, I've known about it my whole life that, Hollywood is weird and do weird things. It's a kind of a, you know, appropriate time to bring it up with, the new wave of distractions hitting our airwaves right now with the whole Diddy thing. Not to go sidetracked all the way into that, but that's kind of like the eyes wide shut kind of lifestyle that they pretend is hidden, and no layman is going to actually dig into it. No one, they all, oh, those are just the weirdos doing that. And when you find out there's like actual criminality to it, it's just like you wait for the police to tell you what's happening. And there's no real justice for anything like this. But when it comes to a lot of these elite females in the limelight, I do believe that there's a level of power, whether or not it's actual like cartoonified, power, that matters not to me. It's the in my opinion, there's levels of power. So just even having like a speech, like being able to understand things better than the person next to you gives you a certain level of power over them. And so you can only imagine that the level of power these people are getting for participating in, I I'll flat out say it. I'm sure that these Hollywood celebrities kids are all bought and paid for. They're sold. They were made to have those kids. Those kids are not really theirs. And when you look even outside looking in, they don't care. They don't care that the brotherhood and the sisterhoods, whatever, they trump, for lack of a better word, the actual paternal instincts or maternal instincts. They are, they know that they're having an item for the cabal. They're not having a child that they are going to care and love for. They're having something that they need, that they're birthing an item basically. And so you
Yeah,
see these, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and like I said, how Francis Bean was exactly 19 months old,
Mhm.
and when Kurt Cobain dies, and of course that's in Seattle, and it's just even little details like that, how accurate they have that. And then you look at other things too. Like I said, there's so much symbolism with Kurt Cobain, because you have this such interesting time. Like I said, like this is like right before that this is like the transition of here comes all these different people in the mix, the internet, and what all these people are still around now. So Kurt Cobain goes down, and it's like I said, and then all these people now, well, look at them all now, they're all rich and famous, and everybody knows who they are. But people look at the Nirvana symbol, Nirvana, and then it's like, well, what even is that? People don't even know Kurt Cobain. They don't even know what that is. They just look at the Nirvana like, what even is it? But that's just the symbol they give you. I mean, uh, just how they can just like kind of erase history. I mean, it's like when Kurt Cobain died, how they mocked everybody and put his suicide note, and then people are buying shirts. There was shirts of his suicide note. People, walking around with that on, and then it's just like the way they have to overdo it, because they know everyone's either sad or traumatized, or maybe they hated Kurt Cobain, so they're happy. So then they're gonna mock these other people, and it's just the way they can just cause these conflicts and issues in society. Like I said, then you have the 94 the assault weapons ban in 94, the same year this happens, just drawing up for that. And just like I said, the connection in New York, the MTV Unplugged, yeah, look, see how sad and depressed Kurt was. See, he was awkward. Why was they not doing like hard rock? It's like a acoustic, just kind of makes it, gives it that tone. And of course, shoots himself on 4 or 5. Then here, this is what they're going to play in his memory. And of course, the New York connection there in the 93 World Trade Center bombing. So yeah, there's a lot of things to this. And like I said, you always do keep finding more, because like I said, this year, just look how they had The Eclipse, how they just, like I said, they just keep recycling this stuff, and like I said, because they're so synced up. I mean, they knew when they were setting this up in '94, they're like, yep, 30 years from now, we're going to have the Eclipse. And, like I said, Courtney Love, her full name, you write it out, equals 98. Kurt Cobain's dead on the 98th day of '94. So, yeah, these people have this all to a T. And, it doesn't matter how, what anybody says, because it's like, you show them this information. It's just, it's completely, I mean, like I said, everything's there. I mean, there's nothing that's not missing. And like I said, you'll just keep finding more and more.
It's completely true. And I wasn't as well versed when I first was getting prepared for the last episode, and just doing simple searches, not even real deep dives, you find out all these interesting tidbits. You go down a small little rabbit hole, and before you know it, you've learned, you know, twice as much as you planned on even like thinking about. But it also kind of shows I don't know if I touched on this before, but I think it just shows kind of like a pre-internet that there was an air about these people that they really never thought that the humans, the actual, like, yes, they might be in Masonic brotherhoods, the fraternal orders of police types and these type of people, but they're not, if they're not in the temple at night, counting up the money with all the others, they really don't know the full scheme of the plan. And so they do things that, to me, like going over the crime scene photos of Kurt Cobain, it's like, why? That's almost it's almost like a negative look to be posing for a apparent suicide when you were supposed to be a respectable investigator. And you think that these, just like your whole, since you've had a job, since you've been the investigator, there have been no pictures that make it out of your precinct that go and hit all of a sudden millions of people are seeing it. That's not even a possibility you're thinking of. But because of the internet wave, all these things, and now we have the hindsight to go back and look, and you see this different air about the things that certain huge headlines that happened back in the day. And you look around at the riffraff and the people back in the backs of the photos, and you're like, what the hell are they doing? They really never thought that anybody like significant would see these photos or anything like that, because it just, it was a pipe dream back then. Little did they know it was right around the corner at that time. But I always find that kind of fascinating to see these, like the difference, because nowadays it's like they use paparazzi as an excuse and certain things like that. Paparazzi is part of it. That they're all probably hanging out together, but that gives them the excuse to live such a hidden life, when in reality they have handlers that tell them they cannot go and do whatever the hell they want to do. But their excuse is that, oh, we just want privacy. And it's a reasonable excuse and everything, but if you're buying that, then I think they could probably sell you anything.
Yeah, and like I said, I think even like Alan Wrench, I think his name equals 45 or 54. And like I said,
Sure.
there's so much. It's just crazy, because the way they set this up again. I mean, this took so much time, and it's like we're saying, all these people involved, like Tom Grant. I mean, I don't know, I mean, he equals 45. I don't know, how, I mean, I know he's, police detective and whatever and stuff. So I don't, what's legit about him and what's not. But the fact, Courtney Love was probably told, because she equals 54. So Love 54. So, oh, go contact Tom Grant because he equals 45 and you get him in this, and then maybe, Tom Grant just kind of got lost along the way, because like I said, they said it was a suicide that day. They didn't even do an investigation. They said at first they thought it was a homicide. They thought they're investigating a homicide. So they definitely want to deter Tom Grant then. And then they label a suicide that day. They don't even do an investigation. They don't look at anything. You don't take any time. It's just, oh, it's just suicide. It's just, they had it all set ready to go. And like I said, how they had the electrician find the body, Gary Smith.
Ironically enough, there to install a security. Like, so Kurt Cobain, like literally just a few days later, which by the way, he broke out of institution that he was being held in, the suicide watch type, whatever those places are called. He actually escaped, broke out. He didn't just get discharged. He dipped, and so that's part of the. It's a convenience to the story because what did he die with? This is something I wanted to talk about. This is okay. People are people at the end of the day, whether they're millionaires or not. I just find it really hard to believe that people who would want to continue to wear a um, admittance bracelet from the hospital. Why would he continue to wear that? That'd be the first thing you're taking off. There's no way you're just leaving that off, especially if he is depressed and he is all these things. It's like it's just a convenient. And look at the shots you get. It's like boom, there's his wrist with his little tattoo. That's it. That's the defining factor that this is Kurt Cobain. And look at it. You can match his tattoo with all this, and I don't doubt that possibly it was him, whether he's dead or not. I do think I tend to think he did die. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, I don't. Everything has a grain of salt without knowing. But I just thought it was rather convenient that he left his bracelet on from the hospital he broke out of. Like that seems just, and then it's also coincidental that if he would have if that would have happened a few days later, that it would have triggered a security alarm. But no, the guy who was there to install the security finds him dead. That's just, man, because otherwise no one would have. You know what I mean? And the fact that no one was even looking for him for days, how does nobody know he's broken? So the hospital didn't contact anybody? So is that how it works? Who's investigating the hospital? That's just letting their patients escape, and never mind escape. And I don't think anybody should be necessarily held who's not a risk to anybody. But why he was being considered a risk was because of something to do with guns. There was some mention of guns. I know he had his personal gun seized, and this was a friend's shotgun he borrowed or whatever. Or his friend got it for him.
Yeah, Dylan Carlson bought him the gun. Yeah, he bought him that gun.
It's just the story has so many layers that it's just that are just a little bit too coincidental, and I say a little bit very sarcastically.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just everything about it. Just like I said, the mockery is just so high. I mean, the way they set up the death for the in utero album, just and then like I said, just all this look to make him just like this suicidal, depressed guy. But there's so many interviews, you can go back and watch a Kurt Cobain where he's talking, he's saying stuff that we're saying. He's talking like us. You can tell this is a pretty legit individual. This isn't some guy who's you just look at his upbringing, how he came up and the way he was, this wasn't somebody that was anything like, a Courtney Love, a Dave Grohl, these other, just scummy people that are, in the background. But yeah, I mean, just the way they set up the whole greenhouse situation. They said the stool was wedged up against the door, and the stool wasn't wedged against the door at all. If you watch Soaked in Bleach, John Fisk is the first guy supposedly that comes in the room. And then he'll even tell you, he's like, I don't know where that came from on the report that it was. He's like, it was up against the other one on the other side against where there was no door. That wasn't even where they entered. They said it was just wide open, just broke it was locked, and just came right in. But, they're going to add it was wedged in there. And then they said, he just blew his head off and there was so much damage. Then he'll even tell you there's not much damage to his head. He's like, yeah, it's, he got shot, but, it wasn't that bad. He's, compared to what you'd normally expect, especially with a shotgun, and just the way they couldn't find fingerprints, we can't find, any fingerprints, even though well, how is that even possible? I mean, and then just the way the position the gun was, they say it was impossible at the cadabric spasm and stuff. He was triple overdosed the amount which would have at least killed, the average person. And then just the way, Courtney Love even staged her own arrest. If you watch Soaked in Bleach, she even staged her own arrest to set all of this up. And, obviously they were going through a divorce. He was leaving her, and, he didn't want anything. You read the suicide, you look at the suicide note. That's really what it is. It's, it's just saying he doesn't want anything to do with, what, and, he wants to get out of that. And, now he's in. He's made him all this money. He's been, the star guy. He can't just walk away and leave, because then Courtney Love and all these other losers, they won't have anything. So what do you got to do? You got to kill him, right? I mean, this is the most Jesuit way to do it. The way they lined it up with everything, and even the suicide note. You look at the bottom of it. Not even the same handwriting. I mean, two different people, multiple, wrote that, and it doesn't even match what's with the rest of what's on the suicide letter. And then, you look at other things too. I mean, his credit card was missing. People there's someone stole his credit card and was taking money out of his account. So there's so many things going on here. And then you have, obviously the crime scene, like I said, the diazepam, whatever they used to drug him, get him, I'm guessing I don't know how they did it exactly, like I said, how he got in there, but they knew that's where it was going down, because Greenhouse 5445, Aberdeen was where he's born, 4554, we're going to kill him on 4554. So whether it's Alan Wrench or whoever did it, they had access to all this information. I mean, it's crazy, because you look at the fact, and I think there was even other detectives when I was doing more research that went to the house looking for him, and I guess they somehow didn't see him or check the greenhouse too. I mean, it's just the fact, you watch Soaked in Bleach, they just, Tom Grant didn't even know it was there. He didn't even know it was there. I mean, he's in the house, he's all around, he doesn't know about the greenhouse, and then it just like nobody can find the spot, no one's checking in there, and you have all these people just deterring Tom Grant. You got Dylan Carlson just stringing him along. And obviously Dave Grohl, Courtney Love, all these people, Dylan Carlson, Callie DeWitt, they all know he's dead. They all know where he is, but somehow they're, they're just pulling this off. And like I said, you have a lot of people that, Kristen Path that died, like I said, just after Kurt Cobain died. It was rumored that, that was who Kurt Cobain was going to hook up with. That's, the direction he was going. And I guess she was actually planning to move to Minnesota. She had her van or her vehicle packed up for like the night before, and then they found her dead in the bathtub overdose. So
Kristen Path, you said? I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, this is her bass player.
Oh,
this was in June, I think June 16th, 1994, I think is when she died.
I'm just guessing at her name here. I'm guessing this is her. Maybe not. It's funny that a Seattle one come up first. And you said this is Courtney Love's bass player?
Yeah, this was her bass player in her band Hole.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a weird name. It's like Path. It's like with a P, and then it's just weird.
Oh, I see. Faf.
Or Faf, yeah.
Interesting. 27.
Yep.
She's from Buffalo, New York, too. Interesting.
Yeah, and apparently, I guess she was leaving Hole too, because I guess she didn't like Courtney Love and stuff. And like I said, I think she was planning to get with Kurt or whatever. They were close and stuff. And like I said, there's just so many bodies. Detective Terry. I mean, he's someone that was kind of in this in the beginning too, and they murdered him. Like I said, up on I-5 there in Seattle, just had him shot dead when they came. Pranked him out on the highway. Said we had car problems. He comes up and they just pull out a gun and shoot him. So they got rid of a lot of key people in this. And the El Duce, that video, like I said, that was shot in, I think April of '97. And like I said, that just came out, and then he just said that, and then boom, there they got him on the train tracks April 19th to just to get another one for April 19th. And like I said, I don't know if it is Alan Wrench, but it's interesting. I believe he does equal 4554, and there's that video, like I said, where he admits to doing it, and he's another satanic cult member, so he's highly in this as well. And it's just there's so many people that are it's just amazing when you look at his death, how many pieces of shit were around him, like just how many terrible people there are. Like these are just the worst of the worst. And I guess I guess when you're Kurt Cobain, this is what you're gonna get. You're just gonna get these haters and losers around you, people that just want to tear you down. And he talks a lot about this. You go back and you watch a lot of things that he said and what he was talking about, and how many things he said come to pass. I mean, these are things that he was saying before the internet came out. He was saying how everything's changing and getting ready to change, and he knew all this. And um I know it's weird, there's some post somebody made that I don't believe, but it says like Kurt Cobain would endorse Donald Trump or something, or think he'd be a great president or something like that.
Hmm.
This was like way back in the 90s. I highly doubt he said that, but um
Well, that would make a little bit more sense. He was a lot
right, because
more
like I said,
democratic values.
Right, and Nirvana 47 and Trump 47.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to say if that's true or not. But I mean, there's a lot of things in this where it's hard to say what is exactly true, but you can see what for sure isn't true. Just like, I mean, who knows if he's still alive? I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not saying 100%. It's most likely that he was murdered, but it's possibly still alive. We know
Yeah.
it wasn't suicide. He could still be alive. I mean, who knows? But maybe that's how they how they say the cadaveric spasm. How, and that's why some people say, oh, it had to be a suicide. But I mean, it's pretty easy to just set someone up. You have them OD'd, got them out, passed out. You just line it up and pull the trigger. It's really not that hard. Um and then some people say, oh, well, he couldn't have reached because the gun was too long. And it's like, people make all these excuses why they want to keep this as a suicide. And a lot of people, whether they just don't want to deal with it or look at it, and they can't, face all this, and they don't know about the Jesuits, and they don't understand how deep this goes. You just have to look at all these key people involved. Like, look at Courtney Love. She's just garbage. And now it's like, and like I said, you look at her, how she blew up in 95, after Live Through This. I mean, and then you have, like I said, Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters and stuff. A lot of people, back then, the grunge was, just, kind of dying off after Kurt. But these people are still around. They're still relevant today.
Yeah, they
And
definitely had to kind of shift their game plan for sure, because they, I mean, they pop became a lot, rock became a lot more poppy.
yeah, and then you got Dave Grohl. He's going to push. You're going to have a vaccine to go to his concert. He'll definitely push the COVID and be on Bill Gates' side. So he's just such a scummy person too. And it's just like how they had Chad Channing in the band, and then of course they have to get Dave Grohl in there for Nevermind. I mean, they have to get Dave Grohl in there because he's going to be part of this down the line. And
Yeah, it is interesting how he's not a founding member or anything like that, but he comes in and becomes like this integral person that blows up. And you kind of see right now in the, I wouldn't say he's getting his comeuppance. I think he's being, I think he's paying a little bit though. I think he's paying the piper just through shaming. But the shaming he's getting is almost like, it's almost working in his favor. I don't know if you've noticed that, but what he's been in the news for, but apparently, he was cheating on his wife and got his, like, it's very what was it? Was it, who else got the babysitter pregnant type thing? Was that Arnold and Maria Shriver? Was that? Anyway, or maybe that was the house sitter or something. Anyway, but it's very reminiscent of that. But if you think about it, he's been kind of like a pussy his whole life. Like, not to say that people wouldn't like him because he's like a likable guy, but likable guys are only just that. They're the likable guys. You're not like the hard, cool front man that he tries to be. He started off his solo career, or at least his Foo Fighters career, goofy as all hell. I did like some of their songs. Okay. I've never been a huge fan of not even just that genre, but there are a couple of songs that are catchy enough. But he's extremely goofy, and then he's blossomed in his career to be this like kind, nice guy. But you look at what's going on right now, it's not like he raped anybody. It's not like he killed any, well, in this day and age he didn't kill anybody. Who knows if he did back in the day. But so it's not like those charges are like trumping, and if anything, it's kind of bolstering him. It's almost as if, it's a shaming tactic. Like, he's having to pay the piper, but he's big enough in not necessarily in the industry, like actually earning it, but through ritual, whether or not he's, in cults or Masonic circles or something like that, which I, highly not even want to doubt, but I'm positive he is. Um, he's having to pay like a less harsh of a sentence, and it's actually working out in his favor because a lot of guys are getting behind him right now. It's not like he was hurting anybody type of deal, and it's like kind of like giving him street cred. That's the thing I'm looking for. It's kind of like, like, oh, he's kind of ballsy for that. He's not just some little punk that we all thought. So it's like, but he is in the news, being technically shamed.
Yeah, and then like just in the year of the tiger, just 2 years ago, when his drummer died for Foo Fighters, and he looks like Kurt Cobain, and I just thought that was funny. Um, all the things, and just all, like you said, all the goofy stuff with him and like Courtney Love, like, oh, they're close, and then they're not, and just like you just see the relationship these people have. I mean, it's not hard to see, and like I said, Kurt Cobain, like I said, he's going hard, he's jumping around, he's just going crazy, he's diving into the audience, he's fighting with people, he's just throwing a fit, he's just you're gonna see this, he's just coming off as just this real vibrant person with a lot of energy, and you can just see he's just the leader of the group, just doing it all, and then they're just behind, just just sucking up the whatever you get off it, and then that's why Chris Novoselic, he just dipped right off. He's like, I'm not doing nothing really, and I'm kind of just gonna go away. And it's just like how at the end of Nirvana there, they added the fourth guy, Pat Schmier, and he came in, and then he joins the Foo Fighters. That he's another one of these guys that just kind of comes in too at the end. That now a lot of people know, but it's just the way they had, like I said, Chris Novoselic, though, he was there from the beginning. He was there in Aberdeen with Kurt. He was like Chad Channing, and this was a guy that I think a lot of people they'll look at him and they'll say, oh, well, Kurt was, he was just so suicidal, he was just so depressed, I mean, he was just such a heroin addict, I mean. And then you look at Kurt, and you look at, and it's like, well, you know he doesn't look that bad to me. Where's this? He's so depressed, he's such a just a mess, and just and then you look at Kurt and you don't really see it at all. Then you hear what he says, and then it just sounds the same as what we're saying today. And then like I said, how much stuff he called, how much stuff he talked about, the way the world was going, where it was going to be, and just how things were. And he knew all of this. He knew about the Illuminati and the occult, and he knew like what was going on. And that's why, like I said, he picked it was supposedly his idea to have Spencer Eldon on the cover for Nevermind, just the way the imagery and stuff for it, just the way to set that up. And it's just so interesting how he was just this guy that nobody gave him any credit, nobody, and then they just like, oh well, everyone just wants to look at him as just this loser of a guy. But I mean, well, how is he just loser of a guy? I mean, like, he's carrying the band. He plays all the instruments. He's the one that named the band. He founded the band. He writes all the lyrics. He writes the songs. I mean, he can play any instrument, just doing it all. And then people want to give credit to Dave Grohl or somebody else and think they're so much better. That's just part of the programming. I mean, I just want to make, it's just he's such a suicidal, depressed person. And just, and then people want to still think that today, but they don't want to go back and look at this information. That's
It's
what I would
almost
say. Or you can go ahead.
it's almost like a typecasting in like Hollywood. Only it like take like what's a good example? I guess Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man. Uh, like Frodo. Uh, can't remember his name right now. But you play these roles, and then it's like really hard to be seen as anything but those things. And you can tell they kind of ham it up with him as this a symbol. He's almost a symbol for that type of person. And you see that it worked in his favor, as far as drawing in a certain audience that and it probably truly did help a lot of people that do have those types of tendencies, whether or not he I'm not saying that he didn't go through that personally, But, there's, very real people who listen to the music and get cathartic responses from it and everything like that. But as far as whether or not he was really feeling that way, or he was just, very, he had a good sense of expression and he was able to kind of hearken that character like a lot of musicians do. I hate to like lump him in with everybody, and I'm not trying to lump him in with everybody, but with as much music as I've kind of like researched, as far as like bands and the band members and the founding members and the frontman type of deal, they you go back to the Beatles. These people were made for TV. Yes, they were made for the radio, but they were made to be the first for TV, really. The ones that were going to get mainstream appeal as a musicians on TV. I'm not saying they're the only ones, but they're one of the first ones. And since then, there's been archetypes. Like you look at Ringo Starr and everything, and the certain members of the band, you have that like competition with John Lennon and I don't even care to remember these people's names as much as I should. I did not like the Beatles, but you have these like archetypes, these roles, almost like it's a movie. Because I mean, do you know how many films they've been in as just the Beatles? Like how many things they've been in as the Beatles, not writing music or anything like that, not like performing music. And so like that has bled into you catch glimpses of that, just like when you have like a enigmatic band pop up, like say Kiss or something like that. You're going to get all these offshoot bands that like you're going to start seeing it bleed out. And Kurt Cobain was definitely one, because of the emerging, not to say that grunge has been around a long time. It's just always been underground. And that's kind of the charm of it. It's almost like the don't take this to the mainstream because then it won't be grunge. That's the kind of the idea about it. There's a version of that with rap as well. Well, several different kinds, but you know, when you do catch wind of it being mainstream, it almost loses its appeal. Seeing like that dirtier, like more raw rap out, like say BET were to air that, it'd be like, oh. Whereas like if you were, in a club, like an exclusive club that like not everybody's getting emails for it, you got to know somebody to like know to go there and like catch this like once in a lifetime thing where it's off the cuff and raw. Like that was the grunge scene. And that kind of spawned the battle of the bands type bands, I would say, where they were still taking the Nirvana style, but it was hitting the mainstream. So it lost its grunge appeal. And so many bands have blossomed from that while still maintaining the archetype. You have there's so many bands that have the semi depressed. It's become like um, like females like it, like the angsty man. Like it's becomes like a desirable trait. And you see, a lot of frontmen try to feed off of that. And that's definitely a Nirvana thing. I should say a Kurt Cobain thing. And when I see that kind of stuff, it kind of grounds me and it reminds me that there's a lot of there's scripts on scripts on scripts, and everybody, in my opinion, has to play a specific role that doesn't take the human out of them, though. So, like, when I think about Kurt Cobain, I don't give him a ton of slack because, he did what he did. I think he, walked the line that he was told to walk for the most part. But every human has to stop. He has time to think. And, if you were in those positions, nobody, I know is in that position. So I can't like necessarily pick their brain and find out exactly what they were thinking. But just knowing emotions the way I know them and things like that, it can't have been easy, especially once you throw a kid in there if you actually truly care for your kid. So you see the dichotomy of a Courtney Love who clearly, at least at the time, people can change or whatever, does not care about her child as much as propelling her own self forward. And then you see this dichotomy of a youngish father who is losing control and grip of his life and is, quite possibly losing his firstborn to the industry, and or if he really were to have killed himself, that could not, that's like that's what makes it kind of hard for me to believe at a human level, is having a child and doing that in his position. It's like I'd not to say I'd understand anybody doing it necessarily, like really understand it, but as far as the story goes for him, I can't. If we were to actually like be sticking to the story and not be talking about all these other things that we're bringing up that are, obviously kind of like exposing the fact that it's not, what they tell us, I find it hard to believe that just at a human level he would leave his daughter to the industry. He knows what is left for her if he goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, the timing of everything here too. I mean, when you look at how, when Nevermind came out, that was like one of the, first CDs when CDs were coming out. It was like 91 CDs. CDs are kind of new. It's like one of the first CDs. And then you look at, he made an email in 94. Because emails came out in 93. The internet didn't come out till August of 95, but there was email in 93 and 94. And he had an email that he sent and made in it was March of 94, just before he died, saying that, he was, looking forward to making more music, and, that he wanted to keep, probably do at least one more album. That's the way he was kind of talking, like probably one more album, 95, and then, things were probably going to change. Things are going to be different. He just kept talking about things are changing. Things are, you know, he was talking about the change of all this, just the difference to him, 90, 91 to 94, 95, we get to the mid 90s. And, he was aware of this, and, everything shows that, he wasn't, wanting to, commit suicide. He wasn't depressed. He wasn't planning on leaving the world and leaving his kid. And everything shows, he was, all about his kid. But, because the divorce is going on, and, you know, like I said, Kurt's leaving her, and, she knows she's going to be left with nothing because she sucks. And so this is why, he has to be, killed and murdered, because all the money that's on the line, it all comes back to money and greed and fame, and, um, and just having all the right people around involved, of course, for the ritual and to complete the ritual and make it to what it is. Um, there's a lot to it, and you just see how they went about it. Like I said, I mean, every person, the police, and they were all made when, she set up the thing before he died, saying he's, he's suicidal and has a gun, and he's, so she's trying to set the police up, just, oh, he's suicidal, he's got a gun, he's going to kill himself. And there was, supposed other attempts, supposedly where, she tried to set him up and the cops had come, and this was an ongoing thing. And obviously, when she tried to kill him there on March 1st, the first attempt on his life, the Rome suicide attempt, that set this all up, the big simulation for it. I mean, it was just perfect timing, and, to get, the suicide and the suicidal, and, just always just unhappy, and just to set this whole mirage, get this whole vision going. Because otherwise, I mean, these people would just, they wouldn't have much to stand on. But just the way they went about it, Kurt, I'm sure, like I said, he knew, he was aware of, that's why he's trying to get out of this. He's trying to get away from them, and unfortunately, there was no escape in the end. And I think, that's what people got to look at, when they, like I said, they look back at Nirvana, they don't even know Kurt Cobain, and they're missing they're missing the ritual. They're missing how they set it up. They're missing who was behind it. Because now you just see Nirvana, you just see, the logo, just the smiley face. Well, what is it? Who is it? They don't know. They don't remember Kurt Cobain. They don't, what's Nirvana? It's a clothing brand to them. Oh, it's a clothing
It
brand.
truly is. I've seen it everywhere lately. I don't know if it's just that like GTA thing, like when you steal a certain car, that's the only car that shows up for a while, but just little random ads on YouTube, or just random videos or whatever, that I've been seeing Nirvana shirts everywhere. Like it's re-emerging as like, you know, front page popular again. And I'm just like, what's going on? And then you got Dave Grohl in the news. So I wonder if there's, something big, maybe Seattle based, maybe Bill Gates based. We all know that he, ushered in his death, ushered in the the son of the father of eugenics.
Yeah, and it's funny how, Nirvana and William, like my middle name is William. My first name Austin is the exact four cipher match with Jesuit. And my middle name William is an exact four cipher match. William and Nirvana is exact four cipher match. So it's interesting. Like, and then you have Nirvana, and then he goes down, of course, and Nirvana, of course, it's done because you can't have Nirvana without Kurt Cobain. And then who do you get? You get William Henry Gates. So then you have 201. So then you have him pop up. So it's like, yeah, these key people. And like I said, just 2 years ago with Dave Grohl's drummer in that, incident too. And there's so much, because, Dave Grohl and Courtney Love always got their drama going on. And like I said, they had the eclipse this year on April 8th. So they just keep recycling this. They keep bringing it back. And you just keep finding more. And, it's never going away because they're just going to keep, dragging this along and, mocking us all. And you wonder what they are going to, take it to next. And, and for those that don't know a lot of the information, like I said, you can go back and look at a lot of these documentaries on Kurt Cobain. You can go watch Soaked in Bleach, and just see how they set this all up. And there's so many other things to go and take a look at, and there's just so much imagery with this. It's just like in utero, the angel and the wings. Just the angel and the wings, and you look at that album, and like I said, the birth and in utero and having a kid, and that's going on. And you see just the imagery of it all, just how the angel, the wings, because he's obviously going to die soon, just like how they had the MTV Unplugged set to go. Like I said, in utero, in the womb, water.
Interesting. Quite interesting, actually.
And utero 42, they're like Austin Jesuit.
Has a little bit of overlap with that Kristen Pfaff chick too, which is kind of interesting. But you just see kind of you got you like you said, the baby in the water chasing the dollar. You got what appears to be maybe like a symbolic imagery of an angel, kind of like the way I almost take it is that it's clean. There's I don't see. I should look it up, but I don't want to fumble on the internet. But there was a belief that when you die, if you go to heaven, you're flayed alive because your skin is impure. And you'll grow new skin and everything, but you got to go through being flayed. You have to literally have your skin flayed off. So that's very kind of that follows the symbol, and in a way you're being birthed into heaven as well. So that's interesting. Which also that's a very symbolic thing with just entering that new plane. It's always been kind of a symbol of not necessarily like human birth, but just uh like the mirror, or there's a lot of symbology of like a woman going through like a portal, like halfway through a portal. That's like common in music, very common. And when we have a chat about like all the things I've discovered about the music industry, that'll be a huge thing. But in my opinion, that represents Mary a lot of the times, and I don't believe Mary is what everybody believes Mary is. Certainly not the Catholic belief in Mary. But in my opinion, Mary is an angel from heaven. These are all quotation marks things until I explain what I mean. But so this also harkens back to that, because this is the first time I've seen this. So this is definitely going to go in the list for when I talk about music and the symbology behind it, and the what I've found to be a singular story that a lot 90+% of the industry sticks to, with most genres. There are some exceptions. Rap is a little bit different. Even country's a little bit different, just because I have my reasons for that. But yeah, I see a lot of interesting symbology in this.
Yeah, and of course, like Nirvana is kind of like heaven, freedom and from pain and death and the external world, and of course that's where he ends up slowly going heaven because he's gonna die. It's just the way they set it up, and he had the Bleach was the first album, Incesticide was after Nevermind there in '92. That was like a side project album. A lot of people don't, most people don't even kind of know about that album, but a pretty good album as well. Um, it's just it's the way Kurt Cobain was always making music, always on the road, always so many concerts, so many always just going, and how he's supposed to play Lollapalooza there in '94 and make $8 million, and Courtney Love is all mad because they don't want to do it, and she see it's all about money, and that's why why what happened. It's just so obvious what this was. And then of course, like I said, Courtney Love, um, or she well, I don't remember what happened there in Lollapalooza. I don't think I can't remember what happened there after that, but and obviously she got she co-inherited over $1 billion in royalties from all of this. So obviously you see who all came out ahead. Her, Dave Grohl, everyone else involved. They all
I'm
made
sure
all the
she was
money.
also made the, I'm sure Francis had a large, inheritance built up for him too, just through, you throw it into a trust fund type thing. And I'm sure she became the proprietor of that, being the survived mother. So I'm sure she was able to, dole out whatever was left for Francis as well.
Yeah, because she left the house there in '97 there in Seattle. She moved and then she went down to California, there, Beverly Hills, where she lives now. I wonder if she got out of there after the Eldon Hoke was murdered on the train tracks
Maybe
there.
there's
But
some loose ends. I was going to say, well, she stayed that long with that much money in a house that her husband killed himself in with their daughter.
yeah, they
Seems
took
like they
down
had some loose ends to tie up to stay that long in little old Washington. That's weird.
yeah, and then they tore down the greenhouse too. So this the way they just destroyed all the evidence. The shotgun was melted down, and Courtney Love just, and then there was a handwriting practice sheet in her backpack. I mean, for the suicide letters on the thing that were traced, that someone traced them that set it up. That was found in her backpack. I mean, come on, why would you have to? Um, what are you, like 5 years old? You got to relearn the alphabet here. I mean, come on, you got to
I'm
learn
sure
how to
she
read and
knows
write
the
again.
alphabet very well, and at least can count to 26.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is something I feel like, as we find out more, because there truly is always more to find out, especially with this. I mean, at some point, I think we might talk about. I could see us talking about since we bring up the 27 Club, it's very prevalent in like rap as well, and we talk about people like, in my opinion, it's Kurt Cobain and Tupac. Those were like the kind of like parallel. Obviously, I would say Kurt Cobain for white society and Tupac for more of the black society, but they were still transcendent. Like they transcended like race, their story. It's not like black people were coming up didn't know about Nirvana or Kurt Cobain's death. It was, if you owned a TV, you knew about it. Um, but and vice versa for Tupac. So with that being so prevalent, I could see us talking about, just even things like the 27 Club. Interestingly enough, 27 equals 46. And oh, yeah, he died 46 weeks before his next birthday. And what was the other thing I had? Sorry, I had a little note sheet right here. I forgot to say.
and Ritual's 27 too.
Yeah. That's what I have right here. That he I wrote it kind of weird. The way I which one did I try to say? I think I wrote one of these down wrong. In some form, he died 322 days before something, and I don't think that could have been his birthday. So it might have been the day he died, And then on another note, he died 270 days from either his birthday or the day he died, with like 27, similar to Ritual. But yeah, Ritual equals 27 and 45. So that's the other funny thing too, is that he was 27 years and 45 days old as well. But those are just little tidbit things, not really.
Yeah, like I said too, Aberdeen, Washington. You're right on Aberdeen, Washington. It equals 95, and he's dead on the 95th day of the year too. So there's another way they sync up from the way they used to have it all accurate there on that 4554. They just can't get off that.
All right, so with that, I'd say we might open up the 9/11 files here. Because, yeah, I don't really have a lot of notes for this. This is something that I could probably riff on for a while. There's so much in our media, there's so much that is subconscious in my head that I'll remember when we start talking about it. But I think I'll start off by just it's kind of like the meme, you never, not just never forget, but everybody knows where they were when it happened, type of deal. That's the saying, at least. Well, for me, I was in 6th grade at my middle school, and the first before school started, something had happened. It was boiling up on the news, and but I still had to end up going to school. And in first period, I remember them wheeling the little CR or the crappy TVs in on the cart. And, hindsight, I find this very ritualistic how it all happened. But at the time in 6th grade, what I remember was so jarring and so scarring. Really, not really scarring. I'm not like super affected by it, but in a way, the fact that I remember it's kind of like left a mark, was not because of the actual event. It was more of just my surroundings. They wheeled it in, and just in time for us to see the second plane crash. And yeah, that was jarring, but or I'll quote the plane crash too. But yeah, that was jarring, but what was even more jarring is uh looking around the room and noticing that I was the only person looking around the room. It felt very much so like I was cheating during a prayer time, like a prayer session. When everyone's eyes are supposed to be closed, I was the only one with my eyes open. And it felt very much kind of like a movie, almost like ritual. It was very like, it seemed ritualistic in hindsight. And I was shaken by it at the time too, because I was just like looking around. I'm like, yeah, I understood like kind of the impact of what was going on. I was only in 6th grade, but it's like you're not like a preschooler at that time. So I understood that this is a big thing that was happening, but I didn't understand why like none of us had this, any skin in the game, yet they were all so captivated by it that they couldn't even like move or look around. And that was extremely jarring for me. Do you remember what was going on for you?
Yeah, for me, I was. You were in 6th grade. I was about 6 and a half, or just before I turned 6 and a half. I can't really remember that day, like when I like first heard it, like what was going on. I remember going home. I don't remember like going home. I just remember being at home, like sitting on the couch and like seeing it on the TV. I don't remember like school that day or anything for a reason. I guess maybe I didn't know what was really going on. And then I just remember being on the TV and just watching it, like just like almost like kind of like how I have like I like maybe like I've seen it before. It was just really weird. It was just like the plane and then like the building. I'm like, it was like I just feel and just see like another plane coming and like there it was and like the building is going down. Like the other building is gonna go down too. It's gonna be like the same way and there it went. And then it's like I would try and like mimic it too because like what I saw and just like so I had like this little like I had like little toy plane, like a little steel one. Then I had like a little like metal fighter jet, like a bigger plastic fighter jet, like little toys. And I'd line up like like little blocks and stuff, and I'd like mimic the what was going on, just the way the plane or the plastic aluminum plane just sliced through the steel and concrete like a hot knife through butter, and
Mhm.
trying to do the same with the blocks, and trying to like mimic that, and I'm trying to get like to shove it through and have the the blocks break, and every time it would just stop right at the nose, just stop, and I couldn't get it through it. I'm like, I just could tell and just knew that this was just complete bullshit. Just the way it looked and the way they were going about it, and just how perfect it all looked, and it's the way it was, and um, just the whole, Osama bin Laden, 47, and just just the way I remember the building. I don't remember um like I said, I don't remember like where like I was. I guess I was at school that day, and then I guess school got let out. I guess, and then I don't know if the buses brought me home, or my you know mom or dad. Probably my mom must have picked me up. I just can't remember that part. But I just remember sitting on the couch watching this and just like seeing it, and just it just looked like bullshit. And I was just, and I was someone, I didn't like school. I, wasn't about it. I didn't, I failed preschool. I had to go through 2 years. So I started preschool in 99, had to go through another year in 2000. So that's the funny thing about 9/11 is literally the real start of my, 13 years of slave school. This was the introduction to it. It's funny too, because I was born April 29th. It's the 119th day of the year,
Mhm.
reflection 9/11. Um, and just the way it just seemed like just and I just noticed, when it happened, like I said, how everything, just started changing and getting worse afterwards, as time went on. And just like I would always call the stuff out, and just even back then, because like I said, I didn't like school. I knew there was, and I'd ask so many questions about things, and I didn't like, all the things I didn't like, and I could just see like how like just fake and phony the world was back then, is all the problems with it, and just just to see and know this from such a young age. And now I look back at it, because like I said, I was, Kurt Cobain was a year before I was born, and the night that I was 10 days after Oklahoma City I was born. So this is, just starting me off in the slave school, and this happens. Um, this was just, one of those events where, after I got older, the disgust I had for, George Bush, the scumbag, skull and bones 322, just this pathetic loser of a guy, just watching him on TV, just all America's under attack, and he's just sitting there. I mean, America's under attack, and he's just sitting there, just like, oh, well,
It's
I
a
guess I'll
photo
get to
op.
it later. Yeah, I guess we'll get to it later. I can't disturb the kids right now. This
Mhm.
hearing the kids, plane hit, steal, must,
Mhm.
just listening to that is just like, wow, the way they set up for this one too. And um, just listening to that, the kids just, playing, must hit, steal, and steal, must hit, just repeating this over and over. And just watching his face, just watching George Bush's face, playing must steal hit, just the way he was just getting all antsy about it, getting all riled up, just how the sicko this guy is. And just you just see, I could just tell George Bush was all scumbag. Bill Clinton, I didn't like him. Wasn't about Bush at all, and I just seen how bad things got with Bush. And um, and I just knew 9/11 was just total bullshit. Just complete, just the fact they knew who did it. I'm just like, how do you possibly know who did it too? That's another thing I just kept saying. How do we know it's Osama bin Laden? I mean, come on. I mean, how much time do we have to figure this out? We just, oh, buildings went down. It's Osama bin Laden. We know who it is. It's just like, I just saw so many things, being as young as I was, but I just wasn't ever like, into this, because it's just like you could just see what it was. And it's the wars that came the years later after this. I wasn't about that. I'm just, something like, why do we have to have war? Why do we have to be over there? Like, I don't want, I'm not down for this. Like, there's supposed to be Osama bin Laden that did this, right? In a cave in Afghanistan. Why aren't we going after him? Well, what's all this about? And this war on terror, and then, just this war that's not even a war. It's just, what they would make it up to be, oh, on this day you can go attack that person, on this day you can't, on this day, oh, we're gonna fight, and then we're gonna this, and oh, then nothing's gonna happen. And well, we just can't find bin Laden. And of course, we found him 10 years later with Osama Obama. Go figure, he was the one to find him. Osama Obama found himself.
You knew right
You
where
know,
to look.
yeah. I mean, it's the way they mock you and set up for that. Of course, 10 years later, just like it's like I was saying, with Kurt Cobain, 9/11. Never mind 91, 2001. There's 9/11. Then 10 years later, they got him. They got Bin Laden. They got him. Um, yeah, and I like I said, I just wasn't about any of. I know that was around like my 16th birthday. Um, yeah, I was like right
I'm,
around my 16th birthday there when that happened.
I'm waffling around here. When I was looking for like little pictures for thumbnails and slides and stuff like that, I came upon like a playlist, or not a playlist, but several different photos on a website, and one of them showed like just off to the right, where like kind of where he's looking, there's like Secret Service and a couple other like representatives there who are like obviously with the government, they're all in suits and everything, but there's a clock on the wall, and this is so, and it's literally at like 9:13. So I'm almost like this this would have hit probably this guy's ear, and he just had to walk over there. So it's like the time in between, it's probably all was set for 9/11 as well, like 9:11 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so much mocking to this. I mean, and I didn't even realize, how much there was until I went back and looked. Because I mean, I've been, researching, 9/11 and COVID. Like I said, I mean, I really started doing a lot of research. Like I said, I mean, I was always born like basically awake. I always knew just, things were a lie, and I didn't like school, and I didn't like the government, and I wasn't about any of it. I've always been this way. It's not like I just like, but when the more I got older and the more research I did on all this and figured things out and learned things, and um, really like in the last 10 years, I'd say all the symbolism I looked up, all the things for 9/11, just the commercials, people jumping out of the buildings, jumping on giant mats, and just the way they simulated that. So many commercials and movies where planes are flying in and around the World Trade Center, and of course, the world, of course, it's in your money. You fold up your money, and the Twin Towers is in there. I mean, it's just like uh,
Not just any money too. It's like that monopoly money they printed, you know, that got rid of all the what looks like rustic money now. Do you remember like how like weird a $10 bill used to look? Like it was all like
yeah,
different fonts than anything else. It was always so like weird looking. But yeah, this is the new mint. I don't remember what year. That's should be, maybe I should look that up. But yeah, it's they like to, hide it in plain sight. And interestingly enough, when I was doing a little bit of research, I've seen so many videos throughout my life of it when I was like researching it when I was older as well. Like you were saying. But speaking about the people jumping out of the window, what I always found interesting was there's a specific video that I don't know if it's a it might be I think it is a compilation, but the people that were catching the video of these people jumping out, I'm like, they were honed in on the exact spot somebody would be jumping from, just in time to catch them jumping and follow them all the way down, just like over and over and over again. It's not like they were like, oh, there's one, and the camera's all shaky, and then they get onto it. No, they were like waiting for it as well.
yeah, and
So
you can see. I mean, when you look at, you go back and look at the footage, you can see the explosions coming out. You can see bombs blowing out, the windows and the explosions going out, and then you can literally see it. And like I was saying before, I mean, if the good information on this used to be out, back in like 2012, 14, 16, when I was really doing the research, looking at this stuff. Um, you could see that they used the planes. They flew them by. You could see the plane flying by in the building in the background. You could see the plane going by in the background. And that's why people say they heard planes. They heard planes because there was planes flying by in the background behind the buildings. Just the way that to draw this up. And then of course you had the fake holographic technology, advanced holographic technology they use to, use the plane. If you even look at the plane, you can see it's like shape shifting and disappearing and, morphing through the building and going through. It's totally fake CGI. And, like I said, you can go back and look at the Illuminati card game. There's the terrorist nuke card with, just the explosion, terrorist nuke. This came out in 95 and when I was born. The way they had this all drawn up, CDs, album covers with the explosions on the exact spots, and so much other. I mean, Hulk Hogan, oh, the Twin Towers coming down. I mean, just the way they set up for so much of the mocking with this one as well. The bombing, the 93 World Trade Center bombing, of course, and just, of course, you got to have 8 years later be the real one. It's like 8 years later was, Lane Staley on April 5th. Yeah, it's that terrorist nuke card. And just
it's crazy how they do it. So a little bit of like there's lots of cool topics to talk about in our research, but as far as just like let's maybe even like just veer off and just put our foil hats on, if you will. When I compiling all the things that I've seen, all the videos I've watched, and just like the news could have doctored it, a lot of the videos circulating could be doctored as well. For all we know, they've scrubbed 90+% of the actual real content that would have been there that day, in favor of these kind of like mini movies. And I have one to play as well, where this is kind of like, it plays into my point, because someone like me, someone who has doubts, I find this easy to latch onto. And I almost want to take that as like, is this too easy to latch onto? Is this being fed to me, or am I like seeing truth in it? And if you can realize you're being fed, I think that's like really important to be able to realize how they feed you certain things to kind of avoid, being fed information rather than, gaining information or like looking it up by yourself. But as far as like theory goes with it, seeing some of the images, like what was it? Like floor 100 that was completely on fire, or like completely red. Let's see if I can find a good picture of it. I had one earlier. It's this one. Oh, see, you can see the outline of it. There's one that's like dead on, and it's literally just completely red, like radiating heat. And, they say that's why people were jumping out, was because in these surrounding floors, the heat was like radiating through the bottom and through the top so bad that they were, people were inadvertently jumping as well because they were going outside. And you know how the Twin Towers are built, right? With the tridents. Well,
yeah,
they go all the way down the building to where they're like arm's length. You could like, if you really like were confident, you could actually try to like slide and shimmy down them. We're talking hundreds of feet. So that's like not great, but I mean, compared to what they were saying they were going through, like being melted inside, a lot of people were hanging out on the outsides of the buildings, outsides of the windows, just kind of like in these little divots. But anyway, the whole argument about jet fuel being the catalyst, that these were intercontinental flights that had planned on being, not fueled for quite a long time, so they were overstocked with jet fuel that caused intense burning from the 100th floor, that somehow caused a perfect demolition at the base of the building. No matter how grandiose the explosions were at the top, it still wasn't enough to knock the building, like tilt, like the top of the building didn't even come off. It just perfectly demolished. Neither Tower 1 nor 2 or 7. That why is there no disconnect? Like, look at this perfect line. it's an obvious, like, what plane coming into this building would cause this floor to completely blow out? Just one floor. Why not all these floors? Why aren't there continuous lines at every single floor all the way to the top or like surrounding floors? Why is it just that one? And I think that has a lot to do with optics. With they need some sense of story. So rather than just bring it down from the bottom where all the bombs were going off, they had to, drive missiles. And for a long time I was of the ilk that they did use planes. Like that was one of the earlier theories, is that these were just empty planes with uh some sort of explosives that were meant, that definitely didn't want them to go through the building, and so that they were planes, but whether they were cruise missiles or whatever, kind of disguised as planes, really. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the optics. To be able to have these photos, to have these explosions that are going to stick in people's minds, and it also drives the next narratives of not only this but the Pentagon and the crash in Pennsylvania, where there is literally zero evidence of a plane. The only evidence they give you is apparently Langley needed to upgrade their security cameras because the only evidence they have is a literal, you need to have Superman's vision to see any outline of an actual plane. It's just like a white pill going down past the screen in less than a fifth of a second. And they have the gall to come out and say, stop it, conspiracy theorists, guys. We hope that this is enough to quell any conspiracies. They really are attacking America, this and that, this and that. That's the only evidence given. There's no plane. Like, where are the pieces of the plane they're pulling out? As far as Pennsylvania goes, in all my digging, all I found is like 2 photos of people standing next to what they say is a piece of the one of the engines, and like a panel where there's like, airplane windows. It's not like it's smoldering still or anything. It just looks like pretty normal. And the black box, basically. Oh yeah, that's perfect. It's right here. I got it right here, Chief. It's not even hot. I found it. Where's the rest of the plane? I don't know, but I got this. I got the thing that says the plane crashed right here. It's just like, and they're still, they say the proof was the big hole it left. I'm like, well, okay, a bomb can't leave a big hole. It almost makes me wonder what was going on out there in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. What was the point of that one? Because through a conspiracy lens, or I hate that term now, but what was that for? You know what I mean? It's obvious what they were doing with the Pentagon. It's obvious what they're doing to this. Why did they crash a plane? Why did they crash a plane out in Pennsylvania? Is that the only thing I can think of is story, is to say that this is what was happening, and hey, be compelled. There were people willing to stand up to these guys with box cutters. There was a whole crew of people that died standing up to these guys. They're heroes.
Yeah, I mean, in the plastic aluminum plane, I mean, steel and concrete structure. I mean, plastic and aluminum plane wouldn't even damage, wood. It wouldn't even go through a wooden pole. It would just break into pieces. So, the most damage it would have done, but it would have damaged some windows, probably, damaged some windows. People that were, in or by windows, yeah, they would have got hurt or died, where stuff would have came through and stuff. But the integrity of the building wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have done anything. It wouldn't have gone. It would just hit the building and exploded. It would have been a big explosion on the outside. The plane would have, and there's no parts of planes anywhere in any of this. There's no, and I mean, how do you even get a plane? The one that hits the ground is not even there. It completely just disappeared. The one that hit the Pentagon, I mean, impossible physics. A plane can't even do that. It can't fly that low to the ground and something like that. The World Trade Center, same thing. I mean, the speeds the planes were going, the way they looked. If you looked at the plane, they'd say it was shape shifting, looked like a fighter jet. It was like black, and then it was disappearing, and then it looked like a plane again, just depending on what you looked at. It's just, and then if you you just look at the way they set up all the bombs and everything, the way they the demolition of the building, of
Much
course.
trust.
Just two perfect exact demolitions, where just the building falls in, what, 9 seconds. I mean, 9 seconds, it's in ashes and pieces, and everything that's left is just devastation. And it's the same thing. You look at you know, the building 7. It wasn't hit by a plane, it wasn't hit by anything. It was it saw, and then here's this building just comes just collapsing, just crashing down. Um, just no way anybody could have possibly fallen for that. And then, the way they set, obviously, 47-story building, 7, buildings 1, 2, and 7, like Pearl Harbor, and you get the 27 in there. And the way they had, these planes that were supposedly, like I said, the ones that flew by the building. I don't, the ones that made the noise, the ones that people heard. I don't, if those are just, planes going by, or, what that was. But, that's really, I think, a key thing to how they pulled it off, because people heard the planes. So that made them think there were planes. But, if you actually looked at the footage, no one, saw the first plane, because there was no plane. And then if you, whatever, people saw, it's interesting to look at the terrorist nuke. You talked about, it being like a cruise missile, possibly being like a cruise missile. It's hard to say, was there explosions and then whatever went to the building? I mean, I don't personally think there's anything. I think it was, like I said, just advanced
All equipment.
holographic, CGI. I mean, just, and then, just the way they have, Bin Laden in that cave with that cell phone. I mean, a cell phone in 2001 set this up. I mean, so everything about this is impossible. Everything they've said so far is impossible. They found the 19 passports. Um, they found the 19 passports somehow. I don't know how they pulled that one off, but they found them, believe it or not. And they know they know who did it. And then Bin Laden with this cell phone in 2001. I mean, I couldn't figure out how to do that with my phone today. I mean, to pull this one off. And then he does it with a cell phone back in 2001. The cameras weren't even on phones until 2002. So this guy didn't have a camera on that thing, and he pulled this off. I mean, that guy's pretty good with a, I don't know, Sprint, all
Man,
Telstra,
I was gonna say he must. I gotta get that plan. The plan that hits all the caves. Or was that Metro?
Yeah, I mean,
What?
I can't even get service if I walk down by the stop sign. I can't even get service. I
Is that
lose
Mint
service. So this
Mobile?
guy did it in a cave, man. This
Yeah.
guy is good. This guy is
Yeah.
clever.
Just imagine the like Nokia antenna on that thing. It's probably like that big. It's like that's probably like a sign of like status. It's like how long is your cell phone, your cave cell phone's antenna?
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. I did want to quickly, since we're on the topic and it's just like fresh right here. This is always, one of the more compelling videos. This is kind of like a mini compilation. I've seen this one before, but there's like it kind of mixes up the other a couple other ones. But you hear everything? Okay? Did you hear that?
Oh yeah.
a clean uniform there.
Yeah.
47 stories.
Yeah.
Interesting factoid there. It must suck to be the like demolishers of the building because they want to like brag about it, but they can't. They're like, "Did you see how clean that demolition was?" But they'd be like, "Oh, bro, shut up. Not supposed to know that."
Yeah, I forget what they used. Um, because there was no tags, to figure out who did it and how they, to find who got the explosives and the bombs, how they pulled it off. There was no tags or tag int to figure out who did it. The way they covered that up with what they used. Thermite.
Mhm. Yeah, shut up. But so you know, coming back to I mean, there's obviously a lot of there's a lot of gematria to cover in this, and there's a lot of never mind even just gematria. I mean, I think this kind of transcends gematria. It's obvious that it has a role in it, and it's a big role, and we could talk about it, but to convince the common man, I don't think bringing up gematria is even necessary. I think this is one of those I think one of the main purposes of an event like this is a gauge. It's how ridiculous can it be, and then how much will the common folk ostracize anybody that questions it, and then they move on from there. So it's like you see that the community at large rejects any ideas because they're so emotional about it. It's like how many people can you if you have a dark humor funny bone, the kind of people that are it's almost like, man, I can't even say anything around her. She might cry, she might yell at me, he might cry, he might yell at me, he might like take it too seriously. It's just something like that where it's just if you say anything about 9/11, if you say it's like it's one of those like buzzwords to where it's like you say it in like a supermarket and you'll notice heads turn. You know what I mean? Because it's just like a triggering. Is he saying something disparaging about it, or is he talking about heroes? Is he talking about heroes? Oh, let me go listen to what they're talking about the heroes. But if I say anything, if I were to say, be talking about like what we're talking about, like the in this, the discrepancies about what happened and the misreporting, whether or not it's the BBC reporting that building 7 fell when it's literally right behind the lady as she's saying it. um, there's the whole reason why the hell it even fell to begin with. What a coincidence that it's named the Solomon Brothers building. We're talking about you know who in a conspiratorial lens, the Masons are right up there. They're right up there with obviously we understand the timeline, but for the common person, they still know about the Masons and they know about the occult ideas about them, and that they're building based. They're literal that in the literal sense, that's what they're all about. So just knowing that there's a Solomon's temple that's big, used in Freemasonry, um whatever you want to call it, their religion, I guess, almost at this point is like their pantheon. So King Solomon would be like in their pantheon along with like the King of Tyre, Hiram Abiff, all those characters from these rituals they perform, and from the old texts, and things like that. A lot of to do with like Egypt and the old world. I'll leave it at that. But the fact that there's a Solomon Brothers building that goes down, for no apparent reason. The buildings around it are completely fine. Smaller buildings around it are completely fine. The idea that these three buildings were, and who they say it had to do with the collapse of buildings 1 and 2. So it's like it's not even planned. It's not like the terrorists had it in their mind to, oh, we need to get 7 too. It was just collateral damage, like similar to a poster in the subways at 9/11 with Arnold Schwarzenegger. But these are slaps in the face to anybody who knows anything esoteric or occultic about anything to do with these things. The more we see it, I think a lot of it comes down to just little tiny shots at people who know, and to keep it's almost like gut shots. It's just saying, what are you going to do about it? Who are you going to tell? Who are you going to go tell? Go try to tell Susie at the drugstore. She might just smile and nod at you because she doesn't want to like piss off a customer, but she's not going to give you the time of day, or she's going to react poorly to it because we have this psychology down pat. And you being an anomaly in this, it doesn't free you from it. It'd be one thing if there was a place we could just all walk to. And he's like, if we all knew to migrate, just like if once you wake up, you know that you're supposed to go somewhere and you find out, even if it was somewhere you had to find out. They make movies about this stuff, like the people who crack the code and they don't know why they're venturing out, but they venture out and it seems hopeless. But by the end of it, they find a group of people that were similar to them. And that, no one's going to tell you, hey, this is where we're at, but that where to go. There's nothing like that, and they tease you with white hats and these underground organizations that don't exist that are apparently working for us, and Trump and all this garbage. But in reality, it's going to take grassroots. We gotta get away from that idea that there's any group fighting for us, and we got to become the group. And God, hell, if these groups end up existing, they're going to find out about us, and then we're going to form a mega group. But until then, relying on these ideas of anyone else helping us is what's keeping us from helping ourselves. And being sensitive about something that 99% of all Americans have no skin in the game about. One thing I wanted to mention that severely, more traumatic than the event itself was the hysteria afterwards, whether it was adults that, I thought of as normal people, or even my friends at the time. The hysteria that it caused, and you saw them almost like, without knowing it, everybody had been taking a pill, and there was a switch that all they had to do was show you an image, and it could change your whole mentality. That's what it felt like overnight. You had all this hysteria about, people wearing the hijabs or whatever like that. And it was just, I'm not big into the idea of racism or anything like that. Never have been. But as far, hate was bred that day. The hate for your fellow man, regardless of their color of skin, why anybody would still be going by that metric in 2024 should be a huge red flag. The fact that race is still such a talked about topic, which, by the way, I do want to talk to you about playing an episode solely about race, because I think that is such an interesting topic. But beyond that, over this thing that all anybody could have seen was something on a TV. It's not like there was, a made for Netflix documentary out a week later that showed you a bunch more. We all just took what the TV said and ran with it and let hate out of ourselves that didn't even exist until then. And there still wasn't any red flags. You had parents okaying hate from their children as long as it was pointed towards, a Muslim type person. And, I would say there were even fewer and further between at that point in America when that happened for me when I was in 6th grade. But I did know a few, and I saw it with my own eyes, not to mention just like the butt of the joke for however long after that always being, a Muslim person or whatever you want to say, Islamic person. that was always so disheartening to see, that the change in humanity after that day was, I think, one of the biggest factors of it. When when we talk about the actual conspiracy of it, if you want to get into the numbers, not the gematria, but the death toll, even considering, say every one of those persons died that they said died, what I think the true point behind it was to move our hearts in a negative direction, and it achieved its goal in spades.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Just remembering, like I said, what life was like back when, this around the, the 90s, early 2000s. And because, like, for me, I'd say, after 2002, everything just, lost its quality for me. Everything just, it was just so obviously going downhill, and everything was just getting worse. It's like how they show you, they show you the building 7. Uh, they show you building 7 coming down before it ever came down. I mean, they there it is coming down, and it didn't even come down yet. So the way they mocked you with it, and you're right. I mean, all the damage that it did. We go over there, we kill, over 1 million people over a lie. Uh, everything it's caused. Just the destruction of America. Just how bad things have gotten since then. Um, and really, to me, it was, you know, and like I've talked to people, like like back when I was doing a lot of research, back in like 2014, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, the same thing. It was like, oh, you can't tell people that. You can't tell people about this. And, that's the attitude that's led us to where we are today, and COVID, and, just everything getting worse. And, it's something, like I said, it's so great that, when I was a kid, I saw this and I said all this, and, I could see through this. And, when I would talk to people, it's just, and just about other things, and, how connected it all was, like how I brought up in the last one we did, how after 9/11, everything changed, like sports changed,
Mm.
WWE became, or WWF became WWE. May in 2002, NFL, they changed, for 2002 season, they changed their conference, their brackets, the way they, uh, for the playoffs, and, wins, losses, and divisions, they changed all that. And, NASCAR changed, after, the Grand Prix, the Pontiac Grand Prix was the best car and won the championship, and was, first in, night, or second, 99, first in 2000, second in 2001, and then won it again in 2002. So that's an average finish of 1.5. And then, 2003, they phased out, the Grand Prix. And then, 2004, it like raced 2 times, and it was just gone. Just the way they just went about everything afterwards. You just saw that, this is what I saw, my reflection as being a kid, at the time, and how I just, saw the world getting worse, saw the technology emerging. Like for like 2005, for me, to me, like, technology was already like too far, and I was already like talking about it, like just the way it came up so quickly. It's like I said, the 90s, you had the CDs, and then, all of a sudden, a lot of people are getting the cell phones, and the cameras got the cell phone. And so they got the camera on there, and then just, it led to, more texting. And then, of course, the iPhone and smartphone, everything we have today. And of course, this technology comes from, the places we, invaded over there, setting all of this up. Um, like I said, just the quality of everything since that day, just everything's just gone to such shit. I mean, you just see just the way things are made now. Just, the best car I ever had was, I had the coolest car. I had a 2002 Pontiac Grand Am GT1. Just super cool car. Like the best car I ever had. And it's just, you see the quality of it. 2002, how things were made, just how long things lasted.
Mhm.
Just what you could get, just the way life was, like I said. And then what you have now, just how everything's just turned to such shit. It's become to such garbage. Um, and I just seen it too from that time. I mean, you get to see how everything got worse. It just made everything worse, and just the way people were. And like you said, just, to hate Muslims, to hate people, just to create this bad negative energy, and just to let this stuff build up. And then, just direct hate on, people that had nothing to do with it. nothing to do with it at all. And and you just see what that did, because now now you have the war, and then, well, we got to pay for the war, right? We got to pay for going over there and killing them and doing all this damage. So who is it cost? And I'd call that out too. I'm like, why do I have to? I'm coming into this world right now. I'm coming up. I don't want this. I don't want to be part of this. Like and this is what I get pissed about too, being a kid. And George Bush, just the scumbag piece of shit guy he is. Just the way he'd go about it in TV and talk, like this, just such a loser of a guy. How people could support him, and then I'd hear people, oh, George Bush is such a great leader. Got us through these terrible times at 9/11. It's like, what did this guy do exactly? I mean, ever since he's been in, everything's just gotten way worse. I mean, haven't you seen it? I mean, this is really, to me, like, where because, like I said, I mean, I was always aware, I was always awake, but to me, like, probably about like 2002 is probably the last great year for me, because everything like after that, I could just see the change, everything getting worse, everything just going downhill. Just how it was just everything. It was just all over. I mean, I couldn't help but notice it, and it's just like, and it's all because of obviously this event that was well calculated, orchestrated, and you see the damage it's caused all these years later. I mean, how many uh people I know that were over there that signed up for the military, and they killed people over a lie. They were shooting people over a lie. They were involved in this, and they got their emotions, the way it just really screwed over society when they did this, and it created so many bad negative things, especially for the youth and the younger people coming up, because it's like, I mean, I wasn't ever like scared of the terrorist, the boogeyman, because to me, it was just so stupid. But just knowing that your whole life's going to be ruined, because we're going to bankrupt your country out of this. You lost all this money on this day. You lost billions and trillions of dollars that just somehow vanished. They don't know what happened to it. Magic, just the way all these wars. Now you got to pay for these wars, and just crippling the country. It's like, here I'm coming into the world. I'm trying to, make it coming up as a kid, and I just see how they're just destroying my future. I just see these people destroying what I want to be doing with my life. Because now it's ruining everything else. So yeah, they did a lot of this, and the mockery. There's so many, like I said, there's so many TV shows, so many movies with this 9/11 programming. Like you said, Neo the Matrix got the September 11th right in the movie, right there on the passport.
Mm-hmm.
Just so much this in your face. uh, just so much, you know, predictive programming. You talk to people, it's like, and oh, well, it's a pretty big plane. It's coming pretty fast. I mean, I think it would do some damage. It's like, I mean, look up, just watch a plane. There's, a demolition. You can watch a dump truck hit hit a concrete wall, at full speed, and watch what happens to that. Well, watch a plane hit a concrete wall. Watch a plane, just these little uh thin, these skinny pieces of wood, these little poles. Watch a wing just hit that and just break into pieces.
I think a
I
lot
mean,
of people might not even understand the structural like integrity that's necessary to have skyscrapers this tall. Like they fight their own weight. They're strong enough to hold themselves up. They have, a certain amount of sway that they're allowed as well, because they need to be able to slightly move because of wind and things like that, mainly wind. Like you think of a wind gust on the ground, that's nothing compared to what, the constant that's basically going on at the top of the tower. And so just the way that they're built anyway, they're built to be the strongest possible things externally that is necessary to have a skyscraper. So yeah, to your point, it's like, slamming a fiberglass, plane into them. What are you really doing? And I could see it. I could see the plane sticking out of it. Maybe the plane snapping. Like I almost think that'd be a bigger crazy like remembering thing, in my opinion, to like see the plane only the nose got through because it like went through like the weakest part of like the side of the building, like, on the face of a building. And, then it like in the movies, the planes, this part that's sticking out is, starts to break, and you got the heroic grab my hand. I don't know. Now I'm just making this a movie, but like, I almost think that would have been more scarring. But like you mentioned before, there's no evidence of a plane. Like they like to do, they have on their compilations of photos to remember today, or to remember 9/11, they have their image of landing gear. There's one landing gear piece that survived this. And now you're left with the question, so what? Landing gear is inside of the plane. How did that make it out? Landing gear is sucked up into the plane. What, did they put the landing gear out? The terrorists? So they said, we're gonna ride this thing through the building. Like, how did a landing gear wheel escape the inside of the middle of a building's inferno to land down at the street in front of some scaffolding? Well, where is the, like, it's propped up against some scaffolding to be like, hey, look at this. Look, planes were here. There's no other proof, but hey, planes were here. Just like in Pennsylvania. Hey, there was a plane here. Hey, in the Pentagon, bro, there was a plane here. Have you seen the close-ups of the like destruction? I don't have one off hand. I know they exist. Let's just try a close-up of Pentagon 9/11. Okay, AI. Don't be thinking. Oh, here we go. Look at this. Nothing's even moved. Like, look at the sheer cut. Look at this. What are we talking about here? How are all of the bricks perfectly sliced? What about the plane did that? I don't you and if we were to believe what they said, it went in like literally flat, like almost on the ground. I guess I can show that picture real quick, or that.
Yeah, I mean, just impossible physics every way it could be impossible. I mean,
Because this is the second afterwards. I mean, let's all take a second to. Oh, I'm not showing it. Oh my goodness, my bad. Sorry. What I was showing was this. Oh, why does it always do this? If you can, I know it's. I don't have. I should have these blown up better. But it's just the sheer cut of the masonry here. It's like nothing's even moved. Look at these. There's monitors on top of filing cabinets that are just like, I'm chilling. Just a huge plane went by and just cut this building perfectly in half. But I'm chilling. I'm good right here. Like, there's books on top of stools that didn't even move. It's like, But then, okay. What is this? Okay, that's just garbage. Thanks. Thanks for the still photo, and
yeah.
thanks, History Channel. Thanks for the history. Pieces of crap. I had to, when I saw it recently, I was like doing research and like on a website, so I don't remember where I saw it, but it's literally like a 4-second clip, and that image is like the 4th second basically of the clip. The first 3 seconds is like the first second, nothing's happening. The second, a white little pill goes flying by, and the 3rd second, there's like nothing, and the 4th second, there's an explosion. But it does not look like a plane. It doesn't. It's just like going the speed of light. A white, just disc thing is a UFO, probably, which is more likely than a plane. But
Yeah, like I was saying, I mean, the only damage you would have got out of a plane, if that was a plane, like I said, there'd have been some, damage, maybe the outside of the building, some windows broken, blown out. Like I said, people that were inside, if those parts of the plane went in through the window and stuff, and then hurt or killed people that way. But then you would have saw the plane, it would have just blew up or hit the building and crumpled to bits and hit the ground. I mean, it's like they say they found passports. Well, I don't even see planes, and you found the passports. I mean, it's amazing.
Convenient.
Yeah,
Just like in Pennsylvania, it's like, oh, we got the black box right here. We got the flight logs right here. So clear to see what happened, and pair that with the audio from the phone calls of all the parents right before they rush the hijackers. It's like, man, I don't know about all this. It's like, but good luck being the guy that says, no, actually, those parents that died in the plane crash were faking it. Good luck. That's how they do it. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to say to the common person that believes all this is real? You're going to basically dehumanize fake people that they believe are real. So that's basically what you're up against. And then you have the whole, just like any good false flag, you have this system of people that are 2 degrees away from it. So they'll say they know it because they're 2 degrees. They have an uncle's friend who worked in the fourth floor. They have, you know, you get my drift. There's these degrees of people that will hold it up because like, no, it happened. It's like, I'm hearing you, brother, but it happened. I can tell you that it happened. I wasn't there, but I know somebody who knows somebody who I'm related to. So it happened. And that's what you're up against. You're up against emotions and illogical thought. Now,
yeah,
that's not. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. You're exactly 100% right. I mean, it's the same thing with the Kurt Cobain death because of how it was reported. Suicide. This was a terrorist, and then you still have people today. Well, yeah, terrorist and terrorism. It's like, well, what when did these boogeymen really attack? I mean, like we've never had anything else. And you talk to people about this stuff, and it's like you know they like you said they can't handle it either because it's like, well, I don't know, man. I mean, how could they fake it, and why would our government do that? And then you have other people. It's like, well, I mean, the terrorist over there, man, it's bad. The war, and they know it's like, oh, Bin Laden. It's like they talk like they know the guy, and you talk to other people, and it's like they'll say the same thing. It's like, oh, I know somebody that was in the towers when it happened. How many people I've talked to that have told me over the years they know somebody that was in the building when it happened or they died in this. Like, yeah, how many people were in that building? How many people died in this? Because every time I talk to someone, it's like they have the same story. I know somebody that was in the building. I know someone that was working there. It's like, I guess there was hundreds of millions of people that were in there, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
To me, it's almost in the same vein as like during COVID. I saw people that I swear wanted to get COVID so that they could say they got COVID. It's like just so they can be close to it, like closer than just saying, "Oh, my sister had it." That they almost wanted to have it and survive it, so they could say, "Oh, it's so real, bro. This flu was so much worse." You know, I had E. coli for a week, for 5 days. It sent me out of school. That's its own story because that was kind of like a whole thing. A lake near where I live, they were dumping like human waste and chemicals into the lake, and they got sued, but nothing ever hit civil court. So I got E. coli from that, but nobody got paid out. At a civil level, they had to pay like fines and stuff. But my E. coli is just mine. It's just my fault for swimming in the lake, I guess. But I get E. coli. This is during the school year, and the I went to school the next Monday. I was available to go to school, and I got in Portland public schools history. It was like the worst outbreak of a flu. It shut down like several different schools and businesses around my school. They say that the ground zero was at my school I went to, and we called it the dirty flu because supposedly there was an echelon of kids at our school. I was nice to pretty much everybody, but I shouldn't say that. I'm gonna get somebody who sees this. I remember that guy, but just give you a terrible story about. Anyway, I was different back in the day. Let's just put it that way. But the like more grungy, basically the kids that didn't shower as often as other kids and like hung out in the foyer and granted, I played hacky sack with them, but they were like the hacky sack kids. Um, we called them the dirties, and it was reported that like literally on the news they like doxed this kid, saying that it like started with a kid at our school. I'm like, what the like, damn, put that guy into protective custody or something. Holy shit! Because I had E. coli, which I thought was maybe the worst thing you could possibly have, and then 3 days later, I went to school and got the worst flu that had ever hit like Portland public schools. And that was even like worse. But needless to say, I wasn't proud to have either one. And I wasn't there. I could sit there and compare all day long with what I've seen people say that they have COVID. I work at a restaurant, and best believe, even to this day, they still act like there's no questioning it. Oh, I had to go take a COVID test, so I can't be at work because I've got to go take a COVID test. It's like, I don't care. You might have the flu or you might not. You have a temperature? You coughing? What is so different? Why are we all programmed so much different than literally 10 years ago? Did we not remember what being sick meant? Now I'd understand if there was plague and famine and to go with it, I'd be pulling out my Bible and no, not really, but people, sometimes you cough, sometimes your head gets warm, sometimes your body has chills. It's called being sick. I don't care if it's the flu or a really bad. You can have a really bad cold that rivals the flu. And I would see people that, they just the way they brainwashed everybody into this like wanting to be close to it. When we talk about false flags and certain things like that, you see the paid people like say school pop-offs. You see those people that come forward that are these paid people. I can't remember that the popular ones' names right off the top, although I can't get their dirty little faces out of my head. But then you have the people that are kind of holding it up, like, no, I know somebody that went to Sandy Hook. I know somebody that went to this, there, and that. That it's like it's almost like they're getting pride out of it. It's like almost like celebrity. That's what it is. That's what it actually is. And that's the sick thing that I don't think people are letting the synapses connect to, is that the want to be celebrity is a fine line to this. Just being known in any way. That is what celebrity is. Who all is going to have the chance to be a popular sports athlete or movie star? 0.000. But look at all these tragedies. Look at the opportunity it gives you to get your name out there, to say, oh, I know. Oh, let me tell you a story. Let me be the main character in the story at this party. Oh, I know this. I know that. It's like, whereas no, you were all just living normal, crappy lives, and it's not anything to brag about. But it becomes these things, these totems that they hold up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and you're exactly 100% right. I mean, like you said in the last episode, what COVID did, it just made all these losers. It just made such a loser out of so many people. And whether it's 9/11 or whether it's COVID, the key thing here that you have to remember, it's always somebody else's fault. There's always somebody to blame. 9/11, it's Afghanistan, it's Bin Laden, and we got them. We know them. We're gonna get them on. You know, we're going to get him there in April with Obama. Osama, he's going to find himself. He's going to get him. And these people, they have so much pride in what they hear in the TV and these clowns and these losers. And then, it's the same thing with COVID, because it's it's China's fault, right? Because it came out of China, so now we hate China. But if they knew, the Illuminati, the New World Order, they'd know that there is no America, Russia, China, Brazil. It's all the same. There is no different countries. There are no. It's all the same. It's all run by the same people. It's all the same thing. And if each one of these agendas is what you get, you get this, you know, and COVID was just amazing because, with 9/11, it was all point the finger, here, it's, this is what it is. But with COVID, I mean, people, I guess what I really learned with COVID in the time of 2020, until now is, it's just really the power of the mind. I remember I was hanging out with somebody in 2020 before I moved to Wyoming here, and I was still living in Seattle. I was hanging out with someone before I moved, and a couple of black girls, and one of them was, well, would you agree that Black Lives Matter? And the other girl, and the one I was talking to, hanging out with, she didn't really have anything to do with it, but her friend was just so enthralled with the Black Lives Matter, and I'm just like, well, uh to be honest, all lives matter, and Black Lives Matter is, you're just getting us out of the COVID. This is what this is leading to, because this is why all this is going on, because this is all part of an agenda. This is what I was trying to get her to understand. I was trying to get her to understand this is an orchestrated event. This is part of an agenda. This has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. I mean, we're gonna kill each other in the street and cause all this damage and riot and destroy the place because Black Lives Matter. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, just how retarded can you be? And they got, like I said, I mean, it was such a multifaceted agenda to get everybody, whether it was, at each other, blaming each other for COVID, oh, you don't got a mask on and I do. And, you're a terrorist. And,
Mhm.
and then, or just, because you didn't want to go with the COVID and all the bullshit, so it's like, well, now you have people, it's like, and it was just so weird watching everyone kind of react a little bit differently. Some people, they knew it was bullshit, but it's like they wouldn't stand against it, like I would stand against it. That they'd say it's bullshit, it's that, but then they'd still kind of like play along like it's somewhat real, and it'd still be like kind of pushing like, hey, what side are you on? You say it's bullshit, and you say it's total fraud, but yet you're still pushing it because that's the narrative right now. That's the narrative. And then it's like you said, always people just go out and get a COVID shot, like it's just like just doing it for attention. Oh, look at me, I got my boosters today. Oh, look at me, I'm gonna go get 5 more tomorrow, and I'm gonna get 10 more next week, and
It's
I'm gonna
like
get
it's a
20 more next
designer
month.
thing too, with all the different brands, people comparing their brand. I go to Johnson and Johnson. It's like, bro, you got a couple of Johnsons in your mouth, bro. Shut up. Stop talking. That's all you got.
Yeah, I mean, Pfizer, Moderna, the two most sued companies in the history of mankind for wrongful death and injury. And then just the way they got so many people to either go out, or, some people, it's like, well, I mean, hell, everyone else got it. I mean, I'm going to have to get it because I just can't be that one guy that didn't. I mean, how can I just, you just saw how many people were just weak in the mind. I mean, how many people just didn't have, the tenacity, the strength to be their own man, to stand on their own, to do what it needed to be done. Um, how many people just, whether it was out of fear, or they just didn't want to be, they didn't know what was going on, or they want to be judged. So you had all these people just, whether they were enforcing the face diaper, whether they took the jab, or whether they blamed China for it. You just see how this got everyone to just go after everybody in some way. Just the amount of division this caused. I mean, division for every angle. I mean, Black Lives Matter, he's white and you're black, and oh, he's got a face diaper on, you don't, and we're Americans and they're Chinese, and it's just, just the way they portrayed it all. Oh, it came from bats in China, and just all this bullshit. And just the way they, I mean, no, like you said, nobody was sick. You didn't know anybody that was sick. There was nothing going on. If people just, like I said, went to the hospitals, like I was at the hospital every day, seeing that it was just nothing but a fraud. I mean, I didn't have to go to the hospital to know that. I already knew that, but it's just amazing that I got sent there anyways.
Yeah, that's great.
And when it wouldn't even be possible for me to go there. I mean, it's just, and that's the thing about each one of these, whether it's Kurt Cobain to 9/11 to COVID. it's getting dumber. It's like these shootings are getting dumber. I mean, everything is just getting dumber. It's
Um,
getting more ridiculous, and that's what pushes me to be doing like what we're doing now. Because I mean, it's so frustrating to sit back and watch this. Just people that I never would have thought. Here I am in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, every day trying to teach people. I've done asphalt construction in Wisconsin. I did that for years until I moved to Seattle to, Uber Eats. And then, I moved to Wyoming. I did moving, I was a mover, and I did that in Wyoming. And then, back to Uber here and stuff. And, I do cash jobs and mow yards and stuff. And, everyone I talked to, it didn't matter where it was, Wyoming, I thought this was, the Cowboys. I thought people are tough out here, right? We're a bunch of cowboys, a bunch of tough guys, right? I mean, just the amount of just losers and pussies that I saw from Seattle, to Washington, to Idaho, to Montana, to Wyoming was just disgusting. The way people ate up the vaccine. I mean, everyone I know went out and got it. And one thing I know in Wyoming, there's not, much to do, and there's not, a lot of options. So a lot of people, they're in the military. So, military had to get it, or they're in the military. And, you look at these military kids and just how they are. It's just like, all they talk about is, eating ass and just, you know what I mean? Just total debauchery of a military we have.
good to know.
I mean, and it's, you know, everyone I know, all the young people I know, and everyone I know for the most part, went and got this vaccine. And I told them not to. They went and got the jab, and I told them not to. And I was telling them, and I was warning them, and I was trying to, and they just, and it's just, you just see that you just can never really get these people. They don't, because it's
Oh,
just that.
hold on.
And
You cut out for just a minute there. You're back.
all right,
It was only
yeah,
like
just
10 seconds.
I see. Yeah, just that's.
I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but you're cutting out again. Oh, looks like you're buffering back.
I see. Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, you're back. You're back.
Yeah, it's weird. Like where I live, there's like a dead spot, like I said, like right over there. So it's kind of weird. Like I know I pay for the cell service, right? And I can't even. It's like I can't even get cell service a lot of times. It just shows you the scam of the world we're living in. But yeah, I mean, I personally, when all this is going on, like how angry I got, how frustrated I got from all this, in 2020, like I said, just having to deal with the agenda, whether it was the fires, the smoke, what they put people through, uh, you know, destroying them that way, destroying people in the riots, the BLM, the COVID shots, uh, just any way they could. And, you know, they're just the lack in the will of people, not tough enough, not strong enough to go. I mean, I had a COVID as a hoax sticker that I got in Worland, Wyoming from Mike Decker. I got, he gave me a COVID hoax sticker. I drove around with that, in 2020 until 2022, until my car got stolen. I drove around with that. I did, I did sidewalk chalk. I like chalked the parks up, in Wyoming. I did so much stuff and, trying to, and just talking to people and, trying to, push back against this agenda. And, I just look at where we are now and, it's amazing. People still don't know, Klaus Schwab. They don't know Event 201. They don't know about these key things, these key people, and that's what, drives me to keep me going, because I look at, Twisters equals 56, Hurricane equals 56, Schwab equals 56. And that's what gets me going. Cause like, well, here we go. Schwab equals, 69, Illuminati 69. Here's the guy that's telling you you're going to own nothing and be happy. And out of each one of these agendas, you see how it just keeps rolling along. I mean, Hurricane Helene here. I mean, right now, I mean, this is the next weather warfare, next terrorist attack, if you will. And like I said, look at the damage this is doing. How many people are dying that died from this? How many people got killed? How many people got, in all the states, in the Southeast right now that have to deal with this? All the people, all the homeless, um, weather warfare, weather control, just this is what drives me to keep doing this, is because people just have to know, and they have to figure it out. People have to know Klaus Schwab. They have to know what he's saying. I mean, they have to know about Event 201. They have to know that Trump and Bill Gates and all these people are all in on this. There is no America, Russia, China, South America. It's all the same. It's all one. It's all just the same thing, and it's all connected. And that's what people got to know. They have to know who these people are, how they operate, what they're doing. And just above and all, they have, like I said, people just have to get mad enough, frustrated enough to not fall for the agenda, to not get pushed into this stuff. I mean, I just couldn't believe how many, big, strong, tough men there were in 2020, but they just couldn't push back against the agenda hard enough. They just couldn't man up, and whether they, like I said, they just didn't have the information. They, just couldn't deal, didn't have the power of the mind. I mean, their minds weren't strong enough. They couldn't see through it. They couldn't be the one that was left out, that wasn't going along with it. They just put everybody in a box, and it's like, well, this is what I got to do because my job requires. I'm in the military. I'm coming up right now. It's for college. It's for school. I mean, they just suckered so many people into this, and just sad. I mean, and like I said, the youth, um, you know, from what I've seen, I've been over the country. Like I said, I'm from Wisconsin. I've been Wyoming, Washington. I've seen the agenda all over. I mean, I've seen how bad it is on the youth. I've seen how much this stuff is affecting, the younger people. And, uh, I can't, I just can't stand by and just, watch it happen. And I think that's the big thing. And, a lot of people, they just don't have that kind of demeanor, but people really were tested in 2020. I mean, it tested a lot of people. And,
A lot of people failed.
a lot of people failed. I mean, just
a lot of people didn't even know they were taking a test. Most people didn't, unless it was a COVID test.
Yeah.
Let me just stick this thing that it has like stuff on it. This long ear wax thing, swab up and touch your brain real quick. That's standard. Come on, give me some of that brain fluid. I got to tell if you have a 99.9 survivable rate illness that is really just a common flu, that there's no proof that it's not. We just give inflated numbers on the news, and you take that as seriousness because you see the rest of your stupid fellow man walking around with the same stupid muzzles on, doing the same stupid posts on their Facebook, sharing the same stupid themes and outlines on their stupid profile pictures, just like they do with everything, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, I support Ukraine, Pakistan, or Palestine, free Palestine. Let me put it as my profile picture. That's going to make a big difference. I'm so important. People are going to see that I want to free Palestine, and they're all going to rise up with me. Oh, wait, no, I don't really give a shit. I'm just doing it because it offered it for free, and I like the colors, red and green and blue and yellow. So that's why I chose those things, because nobody has skin in the game. Nobody actually cares about the way the world's going. They're all just so self-involved in their own little crappy world that they can't see anything being made for something outside of themselves. They think everything is catered to them. So they just take, not realizing that for the few who have eyes to see and are awake, they are literal leeches of the world. And I want to reverse this. So this isn't coming from like a doomer aspect. It is, because that's just how it is. But I want to do more to reverse this. And that's going to take it's going to take a lot on my part and your part and people who knows part. But apart from that, it's going to take some sort of humbling that I don't have it in myself. If these people don't, if people don't wise up to it just through the information, it's unfortunately it's going to take the next big thing to, to affect them, for them to say, oh, okay. Because I mean, for the average person, coronavirus was really just a vacation. That's what they boiled it down to. You know how many people
Yep.
were excited to just be like, oh, wait, I get to stay home and they're just printing money for me. They're making this money for me that I just get checks. I'm getting more money than I would have made working.
Yeah, I mean, I got so mad in Wyoming too. Like when we were doing moves, and it's like, oh, I gotta go quarantine myself. It's like, oh my god, it's like, and then just you look at, I mean, Klaus Schwab. People don't know who he is. They don't know about Event 201. You're gonna own nothing and be happy. Well, look at the guy they had ushered in. I mean, Trump. I mean, you know, blaming China. Of course, always be someone else's fault. But the perfect, polarizer and all of this. Mega, the highest degree of the Satanic Church. uh, you know, the highest degree of Satanic Church. I mean, just look at how they locked down on Friday the 13th, the big scary joke it is. And, oh, Friday the 13th, got to lock her down. And then you just see, we watch Trump talk about it. I mean, just talks like just a complete retard, just like a 2-year-old. Oh, the big scary monster, this terrible monster. Ooh, like we're in diapers, just complete retardism. I mean, just stupid. I mean, but this is the guy to it was the perfect guy to do it. Like I said, and he'll just have his scumbags. If you don't, if you didn't like Trump, I mean, maybe Fauci got you to do it. Maybe, like I said, Dr. Oz for president. Dr. Oz is gonna tell you to get it, and we're gonna sit down on TV and talk about it like it's real, and you have Bill Gates on the screen laughing at you. I mean, what's Trump do? I mean, does Trump come out? Does he defend the country? You say you're not locking out. What's the plan? Oh, we're just going to put Bill Gates' face on the screen just to laugh at you about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not till we have a vaccine. Father of the vaccine. Who's that? Well, that's going to be Trumpy declaring Operation Warp Speed. And like I said, how many people got that just because of, Trump or Fauci or Dr. Oz or Bill Gates? They're heroes. Oh, I got to get it. These guys are they're Jesus, they're God. They're here to save the world. And now they're out of here. So I mean, they have the right people to do it, and like I said, just blame China. It's China's fault. Made in China, right? Just garbage. It's like, yeah, everything's made in China. You think they're against you? They think they hate you. Why would everything be made in China? I mean, even question that. It's like, come on, you got to look at the world. You got to see who really runs it.
Completely agree. I mean, just the fact that so many things, come from that side of the world. And when you understand the game, you know that they're all, in bed together, but at the same time, you see like what they do with these strategic puzzle pieces. Because like us here on the ground, we think of it as like a people issue. So the people of China, they're looking down on us. They think they're so smart. I'm talking about, how they stir up these emotions with these stories. We sit here over here think, oh, they're so smart. They think we're just dummies. They have all the industry. Trump's trying to get the industry back in America where it should be. Blah 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 blah. Okay, you can say that all you want. What are what are the sustainable practices that America can do to supply for anybody else? And if we were to be doing stuff to export things and supply things to the rest of the world, would we then want the rest of the world thinking that we're like better than them and not wanting our product? So from my perspective, it's kind of like a negative connotation with the made in China thing. It has been all well before coronavirus, in my opinion. It's almost like it shows that it's, cheap, that it's just easy to make, and it's just like for us. Chinese people aren't using these things. The things that Chinese people use don't have a little Chinese inscription say, well, they might, but I'm just saying to them, it's Chinese manufactured stuff. The stuff that we get is like for America. They're not like using the same things. You know what I mean? And so if we were to be exporting things and we had the industry set up to do that, which we don't, like we function solely off of what like military budget and like lending and money changing hands with other countries over either oil or who knows what. I can't think of a thing that America is like a leading exporter of other than war. So like I don't see the infrastructure at all for industry like to be able to serve any other countries. So it's always funny to me when you see things like China, India, and a lot of the different Asian countries over there that got the little made in things. It's like what we it's to an extent it's a curse because I wish they didn't. I wish that China and India didn't have these facilities over there supplying us with all these little plastic doodads and garbage and but it's not Chinese people. It's a puzzle. It's an infrastructure that the same leaders in America, they're the same people. They're just moving things around and they're just so China has its own issues. Like just imagine the common person in China who has to go and make the doodads for America. It's like, they're just a cog in the wheel as well, in the machine as well. But we're also stuck on what because of the selfishness of people, just the innate selfishness. We can't even look at our neighbor, let alone someone from another country in the and with any kind of empathy or anything like that. Long story short, it's I think a lot of especially when since we talked so much about 9/11, we've moved on a little bit to coronavirus. I think that deserves its own episode or two as well. But I think what these things boil down to mostly is moving people's hearts and emotions. It's a gauge to see dissent, to see how many people will, fight back, how many people won't just sit back and take it. Because for as many people might dissent, in their mind, how many people actually dissented and quit their job? 0.0000000 non-existent people did that. So how many, that's what's so sad about it is like there's somebody who was willing to make a stand and they had zero support in the time. Like people don't realize what they're doing. They're doing it, yes, probably for themselves in some way or another, but they're doing it for everybody. Quit like if somebody quit their job because of the standards that were set during coronavirus, they did it for everybody. They did it to fight the standard for everybody because it was a lie. They saw through it. It is technically for everybody. And to think that that person had zero support and a 100% hate spewed at them and was there any programs for anybody that quit their job? No. Yeah, maybe unemployment, but even unemployment was different during that time. It was like different unemployment. It was like coronavirus unemployment.
Yeah.
So it's like good luck if you were, tried to make a stand during that time. And these are the people that are actually making a stand and there's not enough. And it shouldn't take something like coronavirus for us to all see that we need to stand up against these things to one day there's enough people to say, you know what? We got communities now. I'm not paying taxes. We might pay a communal tax to our own people, like something that, keeps us all afloat and does and helps keep our maintenance up, but we're not paying city water tax. We're not paying income tax. We're not paying land tax anymore. Come and take it. Come and take it. And that then we'll know that, hey, you know what? We couldn't have done it anyway. But that's where I sit. That's where I stand. I want to eventually have land and or, we have enough people to where there's unused land. Well, it's like, sucks. Sorry, government. You should have put something here sooner because now the people are living on the land. Sucks to be you, government. And if you're going to come in here and make a strong arm show, hopefully that inspires enough more people to see what their governments are willing to do to common everyday people who are looking to live a life of, within their means, a good life, raise children. Is the government willing to go in there and upend that? Yes, they probably would be. And I definitely don't want to be a martyr, but I'd rather be a martyr than play the game for the rest of my life. Or
Yeah, I mean, and I'm at the same point too. I mean, and that's just the point of all of this because it's like, you know, through all these events, it's like I've been trying to wake people up for a long time. And I knew, like I said, 2020 was going to be a bad year just because it was simply 2020, and I could see the agenda. I mean, I saw the agenda in 2017. I saw when we lost all of our rights and the online censorship and what Trump was doing and everybody else, and how bad 2018, 2019 was. I mean, just driving around in Seattle and Ubering and stuff. I mean, I could see this coming. I mean, I saw all of this happening, and that was just such a interesting pinnacle time to all this, because with obviously COVID. I mean, this was obviously the biggest scam of them all. So and the one that's more into my life. And like I said, Kurt Cobain was April before I was born, and I'm in the womb in '94. I'm in utero '94, and then '95 here I'm being born. 10 days before we got to have Oklahoma City and screw me again, and then here I'm getting started. Now I'm finally failed preschool a couple times, not like in school. Here I'm getting ready to finally start here at kindergarten. Oh, we got to have 9/11 for you, man. These guys just, I mean, here I am in my prime, going to be 25 years old, and, turning 25 here, April 29th, 2020. And, oh, well, you're going to be in the lockdowns for that one. So we're going to get you again. So, I mean, this is the story of my life. And this is why I say this on people. I mean, how can you not be pissed off? How can you not be mad enough? And like I said, I mean, I guess I'm just lucky that I'm old enough to know all this and see all this. And then I was just born, and it's just frustrating when, just, no one else around just, wants to hear it or know it or see it, or just they won't stand on it. It's just, just like what, I was from Wisconsin. Wisconsin pissed me off too. And I was doing asphalt construction, trying to tell people and show people the rigged sports and how pathetic the Packers were and how stupid they were. And, oh, but that's all we have is, we're Green Bay. All we have is the Packers. And I'm like, yeah, I can't just see. That's why it's so shitty and it's so bad. It's like that's all you have. I mean, all you have is the Packers. Think about that. What do the Packers do for you? You got to pay money for you got to pay tax for the team. You got to pay for them being there. Are they paying you? But how much money do you get for that? I mean, I've done asphalt construction. Like, I've done hard labor. I've done hard work. I've put my time in. What money did I get for that? What do I get for put my body in line? What do I get for hard work? We're just going to give it all to them. These clowns, these actors. I mean, in fact, you look up to Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers or any of these just losers, and just all these people on the world stage. And this is what people are tuned into. This is what I had a battle everywhere I was going. Everywhere I've lived, you have to battle the agenda. Everywhere you go, people are tuned into the agenda in some way. Whether all they have is the Packers, or they're in Wyoming and they're just going to do the American thing and join the military and get that jab and do what they're told, or whether they're in Seattle and they think Courtney Love or Dave Grohl or somebody's their hero and they're going to go get a vaccine because they told them to, just whatever people are caught into or, wrapped up in, they're going to go head first in with that. And that's where we battle. That's where the fight's at. That's, just, people just ought to know, you know, the Jesuits, they ought to know what's going on. They ought to know, these pawns, these, all these just pathetic people on the world stage, and and they have to stop looking at things as something different. Kurt Cobain, 9/11, COVID's all the same thing. Russia, China, United States, South America, it's all the same thing. I mean, people want to put everything into its own corner and divide it. No, it's you're looking at the same thing, and that's what people got to understand. And it's that's just been my biggest point. And it's whether people just they don't understand the numerology, the gematria, or whatever. I mean, I come at you from another way. Just the way I've trying to hit people, and just it's there's probably a few people maybe in my entire life that from all the years of talking about all this, that probably finally came around and were like, you know what, Austin, that all the things he said his whole life, he's like 30 now, that dude was right. That guy, everything he was saying, we thought he was crazy, we thought he was a loser, we thought he was he needed some help, he was suicidal, he was gonna do Kurt Cobain, but no, he was 100% right. So I mean, there's probably a couple people like that, but you know, most people I know that I've talked to in my life, they're still marching along with the agenda because they don't have anything else. They don't have a leg to stand on. They have no power of their own mind. I mean, it's just they got to fit in. They got to fit in with the local area or fit in what they want to do, and um, that's just that's just sadly where it is. And that's what has to change. Is people have to break out of that. They have to, because I mean, what are they going to do? They're just going to go along with the next agenda. I mean, the next agenda most likely is going to be the last one, because things just keep getting worse, keep getting more severe. I mean, like I said, I don't think we have till 2039. I mean, could you fathom another 14, 15 years? I know I sure can't.
Well, I sure know that it's not going to be a land of convenience in the way that I was hoping for. It's going to be a convenience of maybe the cell phones will be holograms on our watches, but still, uh, it's technology is only there to pacify. So it's never going to go above and beyond. It's only going to give us what we need to keep our attention on it and keeping the screens in front of our faces. And one thing I almost, for a while, not that long ago, I was trying to get a Twitch going because in my head I'm thinking, but I was playing video games. I'm thinking, if I can get a large enough audience and then like throw it on them, that like the only thing guys should be consuming is video games. Like, stop watching TV and news. Like, in my opinion, it's like it's not even like lesser of two evils. It's kind of a bad message because I don't not saying to breed a bunch of only plays video games, doesn't do anything else, but just not to consume any media, basically. In my opinion, they would either have to shift, heavily to get to make video games like a mainstay form of like communication, like the news, or there would be a lot more people that at least freed themselves from the heavy programming that goes on. Unfortunately, with that, gave rise to exactly what I'm talking about. I saw Twitch and all these streaming platforms blow up and become news outlets. TikTok, all these things, they're all these streaming services. They're just exactly what I was like trying to think. Oh, maybe we can get through this avenue. Nope, they got that. They got that on lock. But aside from that, I do gotta get my dogs out and pottied and stuff like that. I feel like this has been a pretty pretty good little stream here. Got a lot of stuff out, and I do want to maybe even like talk just very quickly about potential uh, topic for next session. That is, unless we get some emails or some correspondence with some ideas to do something else. But I know we talked about race a little bit. I would enjoy doing a pretty a large segment on just race uh, as a construct, or just whatever stories, headlines that are predominantly about that. Uh, Really, any kind of conspiracy, I'm willing to do, but just wanted to get your thoughts on what we should maybe do next time. See if we can get some feedback.
Yeah, I mean, we could do more, like current events, like where America's, where it was, where it is, where it's going. Let's touch up on some things that have, probably happened this year, and um, just kind of go from there. Like I said, if you didn't see the last video we did, the first inaugural episode, you're definitely going to want to go back and watch that one, tie it along with this one, because there's tons of gematria and numerology and dates that I got in the last one. There's tons in this one that I got in revolving to Kurt Cobain, trying to, separate up. So whatever I said in that first one, you go back, you watch this one, tie it all in. Same thing with, the 9/11 and COVID. Because these are subjects that never go away. We'll be talking about this forever, and things that add in and come in, we'll throw it in, as we remember everything. And like I said, I mean, I could do a 24-hour Kurt Cobain thing. I could do a year-long Kurt Cobain thing and still not get it all, remember it all, because that's why it's so important. We got to talk about it, because it is that big. And, all these events are, and that's just, yeah, I mean, we'll keep coming back to these things. We'll add in more things, and like I said, if people want to if they want to come on, and they want to join us on stream, if they have stuff to add and stuff that they would like to talk about, or, if they want to, if they have insight on certain things too, other people are, they can come on in and join the stream and
email that email as well. Leave a comment. Um, but yeah, with that, I think we are ready to close out, and I'll get to buffering this bad boy and getting it up. All right, Austin, thanks for joining me. Have an awesome night, buddy.
Yep, you too, man.
All right.